just don't know, we don't need a plan. 'Cause I feel the love. Give it up.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Culture Shock. I'm Raz and I'm here in Chengdu, also known as Tianfu Zheguo, a city of paradise. A city where OMG is now opening their home venue here, and they're hoping to call this a paradise of their own. Now I'm here in Taiguoli, a popular fashion district where you get a good sense of its ancient history, their temples, and of course their modern lifestyle. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is Chongqing on our map. Of course, this is Snake's home venue. We have Chengdu over here. Both of them are in the Sichuan region. Of course, both cities are competing cities in a lot of cases, sports-wise and ancient history as well. So it's very natural to see both Snake and OMG kind of competing against each other. I'm in People's Park, which is smack down in the center of downtown Chengdu. It's really beautiful, much like I would say Central Park in New York. Alright, so I've been told by a friend that it's actually a comfortable tradition here to come into the park, drink tea and snack, and also have someone clean out your ear. I don't think that's comfortable, but I'm about to find out. I wouldn't call this comfortable, but it's not, okay, yeah, it's definitely not comfortable.
Tools.
Yep, it definitely has tools. Oh my god. I actually hear so much more clearly now. Now, I remember getting this kind of procedure done at just like a random clinic in Canada. Never would I imagine to come to a tea shop in Chengdu and just have this be a service. So, I mean, is it comfortable? No, but it's definitely an experience you have to go through at least once. I visited the Quanzai Shanzi, the broad and narrow alley, which is rich in history from the Qing dynasty of ancient times. That has been now reconstructed to be a tourist hotspot of the city. There were tons of traditional Sichuan snacks with craftsmen who made candy out of fanatical figures. But I've heard of the famous face-changing act at the Sichuan Opera. The opening acts were all a treat and expressed different flavors of the city. The acts got me to experience the growing heritage and pride of the Three Kingdoms, the insane skills of a well-experienced tea master, to even a fun Chengdu comedy that hit me regardless of the language barriers. The face changing symbolizes the change of character and emotion and encapsulated me throughout the act. No matter how many times I look back at it, I still don't understand how it's done. After the show, I got a chance to learn a little bit from the team master himself, but I knew I was only going to get a small taste. Later on, I had some chuan xiang with friends, and got to check out the sights and sounds of the city. The term work hard and play harder fits this place well. Alright, well we're here finally at the Dongjiao Jie Musical Center, where OMG will be having their grand opening. We're going to be taking a tour around the venue, and then afterwards checking out the actual events and the opening ceremony itself. Let's go and take a look. 水战到底, which is fight to the last blood. Hopefully, they can take the victory today. Now right behind me is the IMAX Theater, right beside the OMG venue. And while we were walking by, we just came through a lot of incredible restaurants. So there's so much you can do here in the square before and after the games. With the grand opening, OMG prepared riddles and sweet dumplings for the fans to celebrate the Lantern Festival. It's an event here, of course, it's the Lantern Festival. And one of the questions here, the riddle I have, is how many chromas does Dragon Fist Lee Sin actually have? Now, I play Lee Sin, Dragon Fist Lee Sin, and I have the black and yellow one. I'm going to go ahead and guess 3. Hi. Dragon Fist chromas. I'm guessing 3. San.
Yes, you're right. 对的，谢谢。
Perfect. 谢谢。
元宵节快乐。
在线。谢谢。是 OMG Cup。你好。
你好，Hello。
啊，谢谢。
不用谢。
Take a look at this. Mmm. 很好。
同样的话，我们在得到了这个振奋人心的消息之后，伴随着这声加油声，星球之光闪耀成都2018英雄联盟职业联赛成都站揭幕战现在开始。
Seeing OMG's 2014 World Semifinalist roster on stage side by side with the new generation singing Light of the Planet was something else. The song symbolizes holding on to your dreams even in your darkest hours, and that the planet will keep on turning. Especially important now in these up and down times, you could tell that the fans were touched by this, and it properly opened up a new chapter for the team in Chengdu. After the games, I had a few questions for the legacy player of OMG on his thoughts for the future.
我觉得对于新的选手来说，遇到最大的困难可能就是比较紧张，或者目标不是很明确，坚持特别重要。还有一个就是对自己要有信心，还有一个对胜利的渴望。我觉得自己还是对比赛挺感兴趣的，不排除以后会复出或者自己弄一支战队吧。我是这样想的，就是我自己如果能打，我是肯定想自己上去做一名选手。如果实在是不能，就是如果身体啊、年纪各方面达不到职业选手的一个标准，会去组一支战队吧。还是比较喜欢电竞的，对。
After spending 2 days soaking up the life of the city and seeing how fun and passionate the fans were, I could tell why the city would be a prime location for the spring finals. With how much there is to do in Chengdu, this is the first real esports experience, and I know it'll be a big one. Man, I'm gonna miss this place, and I hope to God I get a chance to come back. It was my paradise, and I know OMG will treat it as their own. Thanks for following my journey through the city of Chengdu. This is episode 4 of Culture Shock, and I'll see you all next time.
这梗其实是艾罗丽的，跟我没关系。对，这是艾罗丽的梗，你知道这个？
我不知道。
你不知道？
嘴好冰死。
你不知道？你什么时候问一下艾罗丽？
哇，太冰了，我的腿，反正我扛住了，我就让你管我一把，我就觉得，再他妈的，艾罗丽真的 gay， 我操！啊，我的一盆这一鸣惊人。
大家好，我是战马王牌解说员 Scott。
大家好，我是战马王牌解说员 Michael。今天我们为大家带来 EDG 与 OMG 的第一场比赛。
好，现在比赛开始。
这时候有点尴尬，切到我的画面，你们有点帅。这些灯牌都有点奇怪啊 ！EDG 等那个人。
你就别说了。
还有明凯的粉丝，哎，全是我们 EDG 的粉丝，然后中间有一个艾罗丽的灯牌。
应该也是 EDG 的粉丝吧？
哎，这时候比赛开始，艾罗丽中路尝试一波干卡，不过5级的猪妹应该杀不死。
沙皇被抬到，
不过没有杀死，
没杀到。
塔下扛了2下塔，艾罗丽被隔开。
猪妹是没闪的，艾罗丽想杀我，直接没了。
艾罗丽对你的怨恨有点深。不过那一波就是岩雀交了闪现之后，就导致现在这一波可能就会很危险的。
一过去直接5个人，开了秒表，但是死了。
开了一个死亡秒表，不过这波没办法，人有点多。
这波是岩雀隔开，想推中要塔。
又是看到艾罗丽想要忍不住想开塔。
哇，艾波这个位置有点危险啊！哇，
直接死了，直接被秒了，所以这波船不好打的。
一开始都说了下路要 C， 不过这艾波有点搞。又是一波隔开，拆塔，确实打到了金黄慢了，闪现逼出来了，塔快掉了。
奥文这个大招打了3个，
这个炮车兵一直在输出，
对，跑车兵转移了目标，然后这时候
艾罗丽到我了，然后我闪出来，
艾罗丽死了，
艾罗丽又死了，想杀我活该。
就杀完艾罗丽我们就先跑，这又是一波，感觉每一个画面都是就是塔利亚隔开，然后我们拆塔或者办事什么。
想拆中高定，猪妹被打到了，
哎，艾罗丽
好像又来了，
又没了。
又凉了，
感觉每一个画面都是看艾罗丽在死啊！
杀完失误了，怎么 EQ 没出
？W EQ 没有过去，然后直接死了，可能中路直接兵线进去就一波了。
是的，双 C 没了，可能要被一波了。
这时候其实好像又把艾罗丽杀了，
是的，
这波大家当时的沟通都是要把艾罗丽杀了的，就看到艾罗丽就忍不住想要杀他，
要杀他。
他前面挺烦的，可能就是以前我们在一起天天欺负他，然后他现在到赛场上面就开始搞我们了。
是的，想报仇我们。
单起来干可了下路，然后又去中路了一波，因为在成都主场就给他一点面子，少杀他几次，然后发现之后杀了5次了已经。然后这时候塞恩死了之后也苦苦挣扎，不过没办法，还是被我们拆了。Scout 的王牌解说员的话，我觉得他应该100分满分的话，应该能得60分。对，
梅口的话要比我低一点吧，给他50分吧。
你为什么要给他50分？
这我不知道。
就是看我给60，他要给的比他低。这次王牌解说员，我给 Scout 的解说打分的话，满分100分的话，可以给他70分吧。对。
不过梅口的话，可能要比我低一点吧，所以给他60分吧。
你给他70分。
我应该给他90分的。
恭喜 EDG 战队获得了本场比赛胜利，
感谢战马队王牌解说员的大力支持，
也不要忘记关注也不要忘记关注节目公众号。
我们下期节目不见不散，
拜拜。
一进，你给我当波狗。
可以啊。我来了。
可以打吗？我不在，可以打。我不在。哎，走。我要交战，能赢。
小赢。
哎，等。小娜。
OK，
我可以开大。
慢一点。开大。
我再搞。
走。
太大。我再搞，我来了，能还能追吗？来，我打。
哇！
他灭了。慢点。你别去。全杀。没事。
好了，小心。
这头能给我？没事。
可以。
啊，
能吃吗？
啊，吃不了。等，别急。你们慢慢杀。小人被 Q 死。别急，给我。可以。nice 啊。有点嗨啊，兄弟。去个人收了小龙吗？那儿去吧。
我不可以。
你不可以？
我吃红豆可以。
OK。啊，你吃吧。让你吃吧，给你吧。抓个红，这个人说了半天不就想要红吗？
来，
你要我还能不给你吗？对不对？下一个，
谢谢。
一进，你给我当波狗。哎呀。能不能继续对我笑，对我哭，对我笑，为你笑，为你疯，陪你闹，你好不好？我好想知道你到底想干嘛？他们就是想拼团，他们就是。
我们团比对面强太多了。
强啊，肯定比对面强。
但是大家不要急，把前面队先打好，啊！尤其是下路，稳稳的打。
OK。
好，重点是吉因克斯的发育，加油！
那就看我，加油，金德明，
加油！
看一下，注意看一下，看。超能 miss。
哎，
三辅助打我，三辅助，距离不够。压这里。
能杀
吗？我距离不够。来，先回来，先走。我 Q 这个。来，杀他！哎，撞上！来，跑起来！我靠！
AD 没事，推下吧！
看一下我可以吗？
看一下，辅助没事，
来，杀了！
辅助没事，
我帮你打，我交进了，我不会死，
辅助没事，我打，可以打大龙吗？
可以打大龙吗？出来 ！AD 没闪，
打正面，
我 E 了，
可以打大龙吗？看这里
闪现 A 了，来打大龙，AD 没闪，一波吗？一波有点难，试一下，
慢慢点，
我可以上去卖的，
可以上，你上去卖吧，
你上，
你这闪现进去
，AD 杀 AD 吗？
就在这个炉石机，
啊，出来，
慢慢出来，杀了，
上面，还可以打吧，可以，
nice 你动，没有喷他，哎，扛一下，去，杀了，
不许喷他啊！你看到我就是喷他呀！别客气，GG。等我们小狗不在，没事，他们不太好开的。
他们看，
杀后边的，我军团队，他们杀不了我，不用管，
血管，没事可以打。
卡丁看一下，
一秒变，
看 ID，1
秒对，小狗1秒对，对，
还有这个
，5杀，3秒加速，2秒加速，小狗交给，
别一波，赢了重要。
他这吸血鬼不，我可以闪现变阳的
啊。还有5杀吗？
还有吧，应该。
那我觉得你们可以上。
闪现变阳。没有变阳了，别给他5杀了吧。给他5杀吧，送我了。
哎，兄弟，我差点帮你起了。有义气啊，这个人这么开心。
可以啊，兄弟。
呀！
你好，我是叶子妍。
哦。就很高兴能够接受这次采访。然后，你好，我是柚子安。
This has been a very long time coming, and I want to first say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me, Uzi. I'm Indiana FLICKR in Black, and I think we need to start almost at the very beginning, at 2013, when the world I think, first realized that you were going to be a big deal, when you were going to be a superstar, and that was when you faced off across from FLICKR. This was, the Staples Center, thousands of eyes all on you, the grand finals, you're looking across from the unkillable Demon King himself, and you're only 15 doing this. So can you kind of walk me through that moment of someone who was so young to be thrust in that type of spotlight and what that pressure feels like?
其实在当时我刚刚进入到世界赛的时候，其实当时我自己都不是特别了解，就是已经受到这么多人去关注我的一个情况吧。因为我当时其实就是更多的就是享受自己在玩游戏的过程嘛，就是其实我可能没有当做那是一场非常需要去获胜的比赛，而是更享受那个时候的过程和所有人都在看我玩游戏嘛。所以说，就当时其实还没有意识到，就是 FLICKR 是多么强的一个对手，然后这场比赛是这么多人在关注着我们吧。对。
At the very beginning of your career, a lot of your teammates talked about how you were anxious, you were more shy, you were so young when you started your professional career. So can you kind of walk me back through what was Uzi like in 2013?
在我刚刚开始去打劫的时候，因为我当时年龄真的是特别的小，然后脾气也不是特别的好，特别是在玩游戏的时候嘛，就是如果是就是玩的特别的烂的话，就会生气嘛，就是对队友生气或者对自己生气嘛。然后当时就是很想要在游戏上取得很大的优势嘛，所以说就会让很多的队友去帮助我，然后让我去 carry 比赛嘛，就更多的就是让自己玩得很舒服，然后就是基本上就是想要一个人去赢得游戏的那样吧。
You have the nickname Kung Shao Go, the mad dog, obviously based around that persona of your temper. Do you still associate yourself with that nickname, or do you just carry it as like a badge of honor?
저는 오히려 게임이 안 될 때도 있는 걸 생각했어요. 그래서 저희는 말이 안 통하는 걸 되게 다행으로 생각하고 있는 게 우지 선수하고 인셋 선수 둘 다 성격이 약간 좀 불같거든요. 그게 말이 통했었으면 아마 저희는 몇 번 싸웠을 것 같아요. 근데 말이 안 통하니까 안 싸워요.
其实就是这个称呼在就是很久之前就是别人给我取的嘛，也确实是因为我玩游戏上就是特别的暴躁，然后也非常的喜欢去就是说别人的失误嘛，然后现在的话其实都还好，但是我觉得就是这个称号也有一部分我觉得是可能玩游戏上也是特别的激进嘛，就是很容易去压制别人，我觉得也有一部分关系吧，就还是比较喜欢这个称号吧，我觉得就是算是以前的一个一说出来大家都知道是我的一个称号。
Tabe always, not just Tabe, all of your supports speak really highly about your intelligence in game and accredit you this genius about how you micromanage their decisions in game, telling them when to go for an engagement, what CS that you're going to move on, how to rotate around you. But Tabe then also said that he felt that back then that you would need someone to lead you. Do you agree with that statement now?
我觉得在某些方面我真的是需要被去领导，因为我更注重的是我的操作嘛，然后可能在很多细小的方面都没法注意到，就比如说我在对线的时候，人家就是有人走到我的面前，就是打野走到我们眼上，在那里蹲着我的时候，可能我都没有看到，所以说我觉得很多就是很细小的方面真的需要别人去告诉我嘛，然后这也是我一直就是以来的一个问题吧，就是更注重自己的操作，而很多的东西都没有注意到，对。
What are your responsibilities to your team? Are you there just to win lane, just to be Uzi and be that, that mad dog, that terrifying force in the bot lane? Or are you starting to shift roles at all?
我觉得我在团队方面，就是如果更多的去鼓励我的队友和帮助我的队友去建立自信心的话，我觉得就是这是一个我需要更多的去做的一个地方嘛。因为我有的时候在玩游戏的时候，就更注重于自己的各方面的情绪和就是游戏上的操作，就很少去关注到队友的一些情绪方面的问题。我觉得我需要做的就是更多的去帮助队友去建立他们的自信心。
I'm glad that you bring up emotion because I think your fans recognize you as a very emotionally driven player. So when we see such strong emotions from you, either your roar of victory when you take down Samsung, or some of your distraught after those hard-fought losses, do you use this emotion as a drive to win, or do you constantly battle this emotion?
我觉得更多的方面，其实两方面都有吧。但是我觉得更多的可能是我需要去控制我的情绪，不然可能会影响到我。因为在更多的时候，就是在每天的训练中，可能累积的情绪就是让我可能会更大的压力嘛，然后导致你在比赛中的发挥和就是对游戏的看法可能造成不一样的那种看法嘛，就会导致你在比赛中很多的失误，然后控制不住自己，可能说别人一直来抓你啊，然后你就一直死啊，就会这样子就
Okay. I have to ask. So, I mean, you talk about the emotion, the frustration. You know, when you're looking across at that championship, your most recent finals appearance, you guys went 2-0 up, and then there was that devastating reverse sweep that EDG had on you.
EDG have denied Uzi once again. EDG, they're onto the Nexus. Mako pushing them back, shoving Uzi away. But here's Tenacious. He's trying, but he can't do it. EDG, the most dominant team.
The final game, I believe that you played Ash. You know, in those types of situations, are you just saying, I'll do this for the team, that if they want me to play this, that I'll do it? Or where is the voice where I'm going to play the Vayne, I'm going to be the carry, I'm going to lead the charge?
其实在对阵 EDG 那次比赛以后，就是打到最后一盘，其实我整个人都是懵掉的，因为当时就是在前面几局的表现也没有特别的好，然后失误也很多嘛，就是一直脑海里就在回想自己的失误，就是直到打到最后一局，整个人都是没有就是集中到比赛中之去了，就是很多的失误嘛。当时那个比赛打下来，就是自己真的打到最后一局就是快要崩溃了一样的，就已经有点调整不过来了嘛，就导致自己就是在各方面就是集中力都下降了很多。
When you look towards your playoff run, which congratulations for qualifying for playoffs, is the emotion just the greatest thing that you have to overcome? I believe Tabe said it that if any LPL player was going to lift the trophy for the World Championship, that it was going to be you. Do you believe that? Do you believe that you will be the LPL eventual world representative to lift the crown?
我觉得在接下来的季后赛，我需要更注意自己的情绪吧，因为其实就是在我还没有回来之前，因为我们战队的成绩并不是特别好，然后大家的状态也没有得到很好的提升嘛，所以说就是在很多方面我就表现得非常的着急，然后这也影响到了我们就是队伍的整体实力嘛。然后我觉得就是如果真的 LPL 能够举起奖杯的那一刻，我很希望是我也觉得应该有我的。对。
You're in a really unique situation where your legacy has almost been defined by millions of voices and not necessarily, you know, a ring or medals or anything like that. But people will never dispute that you are one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest ADC of all time. But if you don't ever lift the trophy, do you think that this was all worth it? Do you measure your success in that trophy or that goal, or do you recognize that you already have established your legacy?
我觉得就算在我退役的那一天没有拿到一个真的很好的奖杯，但是我觉得也不会很失望吧，因为我觉得这一段过程已经给了我很大的帮助。因为在我刚开始打职业和我现在在打职业的感觉完全是不一样的。就我觉得在打职业这段过程中给我带来了很多东西，也让我去学到了很多东西吧。而且我觉得在我退役的那一天，我觉得我是一定可以拿到奖杯的。
Well, that was the last question I had. Thank you so much, Uzi, for taking the time to sit with me.
结束吗？谢谢 Uzi， 谢谢。
也在这打，因为他知道你中路已经没状态，走位又扭掉了，过来想往回推，他们开车推回来了，能不能杀掉小虎？小虎这边还在跑，让范飞靠前那个护盾，这都让他跑了。给了 RNG 一个补充装备的时间，中路过来抓。小虎的位置好差呀！大招拉被闪现躲掉，往回闪现直接被收了。中路 R 那边看到两个人，腹地扑到了，中牛头也被定住 ，Q 一下牛头，当然帮忙解围，又在这边交水一想跑，回身小明应该能成功的走掉。腿哥这边在偷3环，治疗给一下，图被解读到了，最后穿刺之剑收掉这个人头。来自纳尔的一波灵性包抄，再跳上去闪现推回姿态，腿哥这波。
多中短上上短中的一个机会。
来，硬了，想秒了，而且这个被乌鸦拉回来了，就说给挑战扛不住，大舅子上天了，但蛇女回身的伤害很高，给一个盾，回身又拉到大舅子，大招炸回来，大舅子在吸，还在吸，吸不动了。
血量3000多点了，能来得及吗？好像来不及了，进不去。最后是巨魔，马上小魔拿下那个大龙，西也被打了一套，直接残血，这边没有杀亡的伤害，直接让大舅子这个一技能撞飞了3个人。雷米这个智能冲锋，让 UG 还收录个收割局。
哥甲的957，
所有大军正在赶来，能不能先把957给击杀？957站起来想跳，牛头挺起来，这
救下来了，点火在烧，点火烫死了。下大招交出来这个隘口，刀锋的伤害打得很足。UZI 这个时候站出来了，闪现过去
，100暴击，换掉了3杀。
第一个赛季我们就打进了季后赛，我知道我们所处的位置很艰难，但是我们会全力去拼，让看清我们的对手后悔。
去年的春天，打 B 拿到了第1个冠军，我很怀念当时夺冠的情景，我很想再重温一次。
我们已经连续4次杀进总决赛了，如果这一次春决没有RNG的话，那这个赛季對我們而言，肯定是不夠滿意的答卷吧。
經過11年嘅低谷，我哋重新進入咗季後賽，對我哋嚟講係一個好好嘅開始。我相信我哋呢個隊伍能夠再次創造奇蹟。
很多人說我們是高開低走，但是我相信自己，更相信隊友。季後賽的小道勇士不會讓支持我們的人失望。
FLICKR 已經不再是一支新隊了。但是这个赛季，我们又找回了最开始的那股冲劲。我们想代表重庆走得更远一些。
我知道有很多人在等着我回 EDG，既然现在我回来了，就把你们安排的明明白白的。
我来到 LPL 已经有3年的时间，没有比现在更好的机会了。努力了这么久，也该轮到 IG 了。
6 paths, they're calling me Madara. Your guys will hide in the mystic. My brothers put iron in fists like Kazuya. Man call me an amateur. I put numbers in squares like dates on a calendar. Had everyone dressed in black like I came here trying to unlock a new character. Had everyone dressed in black with a bottle in hand like Lei Wulong. Walk in a party, see a Barbie looking nice, I just give her a smile and a wink. Could have been dead, I could have been rich, I could have been locked in a cage.
Yesterday, we saw RNG pick up a decisive 2-0 victory over Team WE, eliminating them for playoffs. Today, round 1 of the LPL playoffs continue. We'll have BLG taking on JDG. BLG narrowly were not able to clinch second place after not being able to take down their rivals, clinch that spot and get that bye. However, for the side of JDG, it was in their hands to make it into playoffs, and they did just that, beating out rivals in the e-commerce wars of Suning Gaming, as well as taking out second place in their groups of Rogue Warriors. They've now made it here today, and now we're going to see who's going to be advancing into the quarterfinals of the LPL playoffs. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Zach Rusty Pie, as well as Indiana FLICKR in black. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic. Ready for more LPL. It's only 2 games yesterday. I was actually a little bit disappointed. It's not a full set. Not enough. We need more.
Yeah, we definitely need more. We'll have more action coming your way today. But first, let's take a look for the last time at the standings of the LPL during the regular season. Because we saw Invictus Gaming 18-1, only dropping a single game at the start of split, still looking undefeated, and we know that Team WE, they are the team that have been eliminated from playoffs.
And a reminder, it is 3rd versus 4th today. Bilibili Gaming versus JD Gaming, and like you were saying, Fish, Bilibili had the shot at 2nd, unfortunately weren't able to topple EDG, now starting 3rd, whereas JD Gaming 10-9 versus Suning 9-10, by the hair of their chinny chin chin, managed to scrape into playoffs.
But they did get to do it themselves, thankfully, and as a result of that, they're able to put themselves into a fantastic side of the bracket. Frost, you might say, you don't want to be on one side of this bracket, and unfortunately for RNG, even though they got their victory yesterday, they have to play against Snake, and if they win, eventually IG.
And the reality is that Rogue Warriors have been on a downward spiral. They're currently on a losing streak. Edward Gaming, we don't even know what roster they're starting, so there's actually a possibility, a world, where JD Gaming or Bilibili could make a run for finals.
And you said it earlier, Frosker, and JD were able to narrowly clinch their playoff spot. Now is the day that they have to make it better, up against BLG, who recently have been looking incredibly good, and this is a team that we know historically can make those playoff runs.
In today's matchup, BLG against JD, it's a battle of the anime website against the e-commerce war, and unfortunately, one of these teams does have to lose.
And just a reminder to everyone back home, yes, BLG will start with a single game win. It is a weighted best of 5 as they finish 3rd in their conference, whereas JDG were the team that finished 4th. So let's start with the strength of these two teams. Frost, tell me about JDG. How do they win this match?
Okay, so there's 3 things that you need to look for JD Gaming. The first and foremost is you have to look at Yagao. This guy is a triple threat mid laner. That means that not only is his champion pool massive, he can play versatile styles, but it also means that he's a team fight and roaming oriented mid laner. Now, next, you then have to think about how you unlock him in the early game, empowering that early game. The duo of Clid and Yagao is deadly for JD Gaming. They are #1 in most ganks in the league, and they are #4 in counter ganks. So there's a lot of action that happens around that mid side of the map because everything needs to happen before 15 minutes. They're actually 2nd, just behind Invictus Gaming in terms of their early game dominance. Now, when it does come to late game, it's the final piece of the puzzle, and it's Loken's redemption story, where he had been benched and came back to the roster. He is now their late game insurance policy with ridiculous KDAs on both Ezreal and Varus.
He's been looking good recently, and since he's come back, it was at the crucial time for JDG because his comeback allowed them to not only put it in their hands to make it to playoffs, but he was also able to bring the team to playoffs. Now they're playing their first match here today up against BLG. Rusty, what are the strengths of this team?
Well, BLG have a very obvious strength. I think that's the first place you have to talk, and that is going to be team fighting. You know them, you love them. They're called the Miracle Makers. Team fighting is the place where they always excel and they always get those miracles. Amazing J is one of the key members you have to look at when you talk about team fighting for BLG. 77% win rate on tanks, and usually tanks that will be engaging for you. So that's the big thing you look at for BLG as a major strength. And 2.69, I believe it is, assists per kill, shows that they love themselves some team team fighting. They absolutely team fight all the time. But you have to bring it back a step, look at the rest of the roster. The newest additions, actually, is the place you have to go to next. The early spark that was never there for BLG is definitely there now. First in jungle control is something worth noting. These are changes in stats since they came into the roster in Week 8 to now. The fact that they've got #1 ranking in jungle control when teams like Snake exist does wonders for the side of BLG. They're a fantastic team in the early game now, and their gold difference at 20 has actually gone up by 1,300. An entire BF sword more than they had before, and this actually all culminates with an early game lead even further back towards the bottom lane. Road, the Wanderer, the man who goes everywhere on Summoner's Rift, the man who kills more wards than he takes because he wants to be opening up control, and his availability to be roaming around the Rift, enabling his team, working with them splendidly.
Yeah, Road took my award for most improved player of the split. Before, he was simply a liability, but now, as Rusty is talking about, he is one of the true carries for the team. They really rely on a lot of his engagements, so picks like Rakan are something to watch.
They certainly are, and he's been working well with Jinja. They've been a duo for quite some time, and it's good to see that the synergy is finally paying off for BLG. Now, we know what these two teams are stronger, so exactly how are they going to win this match? Let's start with JD. What does JD have to do to win this game against BLG?
So we're going to frame this like we're the coach of the team. We're going to tell them how can they beat their opponents. For me, Jingdong, the recipe is simple, is that you want to have a pushing bottom lane. If Road's known for his roaming, don't let him road. Just don't let him road roam, I guess. Keep him down in the bottom lane. Yeah, Civic Karma. Don't let like WES go to playoffs. No, don't play Karma. Play Civ. Play something that pushes. Keep them down there. Draw the pressure down towards your bottom lane, and then most importantly, counterpick top lane. Pick something that will win the lane 1v1 against Amazing J. Don't let the person who wants to be roaming around the map, team fighting, shot calling, do any of that at all. Sit up there, pressure him, play something like the Swain, one of Zoom's new signature picks, and just keep him there and kill him.
And this is the thing. We have so many legendary top laners running around our league, the likes of Jinnu, the likes of the Shy, and no one is talking about Zoom, but as you can see, he can hang with the best of them. This guy has multiple solo kills on all of these legends.
Yeah, 10 solo kills, 1 solo death. Compared to a lot of the other top laners, that is statistically incredible. Zoom knows how to kill his lane opponent, not just win the lane.
Now, he's going to be up against Amazing J, who was one of the MVP nominees for the spring split. He's been known as a big rock in the top lane and big initiator. Is that going to be one of the primary win conditions for BLG going to this match?
Absolutely. AJ is the captain and shot caller for the team, so of course he's going to be a huge factor. Now, I've got 3 rules here. AJ needs to have a long-range engaged champion, Jin Zhao needs to have a late-game insurance policy, and they need to make sure that they have priority in that mid lane, so Chieftain and Mole can be that early-game duo. You saw it in the previous graphic. They went from, minus 300 gold, I think, to plus 1,300 gold. Now it's their gold difference at 20, and a lot of that does start in the mid lane.
Yeah, we already talked about it. Not only is it going to be in that mid lane, and as well as synergizing with Chieftain for BLG, but also the roaming potential that we get out from Road. Also the initiations that we'll see from Amazing J in the late game.
And it's important, we mentioned again, the Scion, the Ornn. Well, these are perfect examples of BLG's team fighting when they have got those tanks there to set them up for success. Certain champions we may not want to see, but certain ones are necessary. Sejuani is actually another one that comes to mind with the Rakan as well.
Yep, Sejuani, Rakan, Ornn. And here's the thing. The short and sweet of it is that JD Gaming blow up past 20 minutes. This team is not able to close. They can't play around objectives. If I'm BLG and I'm known for my late game 5v5, just sit back. Wait it out. Have these scaling champions, grab an Azir, grab something like a Jhin, and just say, it's fine. We'll see you at the finish line.
Well, JD are going to try and deny BLG from doing just that, whereas BLG, they want to try and scale up. We know they have a good early game now. They've got a good late game as well, and we're about to get into the first match of the Specified series.
Taking a look at the lineups on the blue side, it is going to be BLG, Amazing J, their brand new duo, Chieftain and Mole, Jin Zhao and Road.
And you will note that the duo is going to be playing this time around. No Athena, no SKS to be seen. It seems like these two players in Chieftain and Mole have shored up the weaknesses and maintained the strengths for BLG, which is exactly what they need.
They're going to be met by JDG, Zoom in the top lane, Clit in the jungle, Yakgao in the mid lane with Loken and Lu Mao as the AD carry and support.
And again, if you're going to pick out 2 members to follow, it's again that mid-jungle duo, Clit and Yagao. This team is only second to Invictus Gaming for their early game stats, and it does start with that duo.
Gonna have to keep track of that duo. Clement talks about them all the time for the side of JDG, how they synergize together and work together. They're now up against the new duo of Chieftain as Mole. And it's going to be a big clash. We know that these two teams, we've already talked about how they have the potential to run all the way to the finals. And it starts with a first victory here in the first round of playoffs. So I'd like to ask you guys before we go into the first game, what are your predictions for this match?
Well, I'm going to say that it's BLG, but I'm going to caveat this because I know what FLICKR's opinion is. I think that Jingdong will take a game. I think they'll be able to team fight late game. Maybe there's not a lot of faith here for Jingdong's late game team fighting, but I think Loken's actually shored that up. So I'm going to say they get one map, and then BLG still runs them over.
Oh no, Rusty's wrong. Okay, boom.
Ooh.
We've got BLG, and it's not just going to be BLG for this. BLG are actually my dark horse to make the gauntlet run. I think that Rogue Warriors haven't shown us the form that they can recover. I think there's a possibility that BLG start their finals run today.
Well, you heard it here first from Raz as well as Rusty. No, it's actually Rusty and Frosco making the predictions here. Both of them think that BLG
I look good today.
are going to pick up the win here in that first match. And if we have to look towards one player from JDG to try and upset BLG and take it home for Jingdong, who are we looking towards?
Yagao!
I'd say Yagao, maybe Zoom. Depends if the solo kills come about. I'm hyped for this top lane.
So it's going to be the solo laners coming out from JDG to try and pick up a victory here against BLG, but the analysts think that it's BLG favored. We're going to get into game number 1, but first, let's hear from Amazing J, who has some choice words about Zoom in the top lane.
我会和京东的上单白胖子交手，我觉得他是一个乌鸦玩得非常好的选手，因为上次我看他们那个比赛，他打怼帅这个乌鸦的操作特别好，所以要注意这个点。我的目标应该是能赢就赢下去吧，因为季后赛的对手都十分之强大，就能赢就赢吧。
The analyst said it, and AJ said it as well, looking towards those solo lanes to try and get the win here for JD Gaming. But I'm Pulse, this is Clement. How are you doing today, Clement?
I'm doing really fine. I'm looking at that translation. I noticed that they actually skipped out the word where you called Zoom the white fatty.
They are the dumpling duo after all, but we're about to get into BLG and Jingdong Gaming game 1 here for Champion Select. It's going to be Galio and Trundle coming out from BLG for their first couple bans, and of course aiming towards the top lane will be a Swain ban towards Amazing J.
We do have to note that Jingdong decided to pick up red side themselves, so to answer the analyst desk, who's going to be the big carry today, you just have to look at that last pick. Is it going to go to Zoom or is it going to go to Yagao?
We'll see as we get later on into this Champion Select. Alistair will be a ban against the bottom lane here towards Mao and Sejuani at Chieftain. Of course, we've really just been seeing the Sejuani and the Skarner as the go-tos for Chieftain, so we'll see if BLG look for the priority here.
Yep, a lot of good research work being done by Jingdong right here. BLG, they like to play on blue side, and they like to play Xayah and Sejuani for their first pick. They've taken away both of those options, and they now have the chance to force Amazing J, someone who is not very strong in lane, to go up against Zoom. Zoom has the Fiora for this matchup, and he also has the Camille.
Bit of a left turn though, BLG prioritized the gangplank into the top lane, meaning JD, hey, they can just lock in the Camille right now. And while it's a flex pick, Clid can also pick it up into the jungle. I could definitely see Zoom taking that into the 1v1 matchup in top lane.
Yeah, they're definitely setting up for that. Zoom and Clid, that's a very iconic duo. They do like to gank for each other quite a lot,
okay.
But what? Loken going for the Kai'Sa right off the bat. This is patch 8.6. Her AP ratios have been doubled, and also her attack range has been increased by 25.
Yeah, this is super strong Kai'Sa coming into this patch. Even before on 8.5, the LPL was picking up Kai'Sa and still pick up wins with it, but now I feel like it will be more widespread amongst more of the teams. It's not just going to be SMLZ and maybe the occasional Chelly game. BLG are still going to get priority on jungle though, and Chieftain will get the other side of his champion coin, I'm going to call it, in the form of Skarner.
Yeah, this is definitely the champion that he looks towards to the most. They are the team that started the Thresh and Skarner combination for the LPL, and the way he plays it very aggressively. He's always looking to gank the enemy jungler. That's actually the position he ganks the most. 40% of the times, he's looking for that enemy jungler.
Hover over Jin will be locked in, living up to his namesake right there. Jin Jiao will get his hands on that champion, so excited to see what he can do with that in the bottom lane here.
This is a weird quiver here coming out from Jingdong. I do expect the Zac a lot more. This is a champion that they know how to play with. They've had very good success on it, and it just goes towards Clid's strength. He's a ganking jungler. He's typically very far behind in terms of GD and experience, but he likes to gank, and that's how Jingdong gets their early game leads.
Especially if you want those solo lanes to be doing well in this one. You need Clears to be coming in there with the Zac, with the early ganks to try and get that rolling there for JD. Moving on to the next phase of bans, it will be Rise coming out towards Mole right here, trying to shut down just the easy ganks into the mid lane. Not going to just have the easy Rune Prison into Chieftain running in from the jungle.
Yeah, this is a really good ban because it takes away something Mole is comfortable blind picking. There are not a lot of champions that he typically does blind pick. He's much more of a counter pick oriented mid laner, so if you take those options away, it really does look more like the Talia might be the one he goes to.
Look for those roams, look for the lockdown. Morgana will round out the bans here for JD Gaming. I'll take that one away from Road, and Karma will be the ban towards JD. We'll see what the final one is now from Bilibili.
I really like the setup from Jingdong right now. They have a very strong backline dive team set up already. If you look at BLG, Jin, gameplay, not a lot of mobility, very fragile champions, and Jingdong can simply pile on in. It doesn't matter if they can't outfight BLG right now because they simply have an easier comp to execute.
It's really interesting. Take away the Leona at the end there towards Mal. We know he can play it, but we were kind of expecting, if we saw the Lovers duo and Rakan wasn't banned out by JD, maybe that would be the counter there to make sure he doesn't get the counter. But in case, just going to take that one away. Zoe will be locked in, though, for JD Gaming. Now, if you haven't watched All Split, you haven't seen JD Gaming, Yagao is an absolute monster on Zoe. And I'm actually surprised it's gone all the way through picks and bans.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday, watching Xiaohu play that, I knew that Yagao was going to get a look into Zoe himself. So that's a very strong champion. BLG, you typically have the LeBlanc as a counter pick. We haven't seen that from Mo, and he does go for something very predictable. Like I said, he would go for it, the Talia blind pick.
So we're going to see here will be counter pick now for... oh, no, you guys already picked up the Zoe.
Yeah, it's not technically a blind pick, but in that situation where you don't really have a counter, that's just a kind of a stable pick for him.
For sure. And BLG with their final pick now. Looking at support, it's just going to be Thresh. So we're looking for plays in the bottom lane alongside that Jin. There's definitely a hover over Blitzcrank. We have seen this earlier in the split as well. Actually out of Mao.
It does work with the composition. They want full-on engage, but it doesn't have a very good time in terms of the laning phase. If you look at that lane, that's a very dangerous scenario. You're basically banking on the hooks to land. If that doesn't go through, that's actually a very weak lane against Jin Thresh.
It's definitely scary. 2 seconds left. We'll see if they lock it in, and it is locked in. We will have ourselves a Blitzcrank in the playoffs here in the LPL. And now Mao, he's picked this one before when they were up against it. This was kind of their ace in the hole, the ace up the sleeve here for JD. But I'm surprised to see it in game 1 of this best of 5.
And that's the big difference here between Jingdong and BLG. Jingdong, a lot of times, they don't prioritize that bot lane laning phase. They actually just want the initiation, the kill pressure to come out from that lane. And if you look at their composition, I think Jingdong has the better draft right here. They got every single piece they wanted. They want full-on engage, very strong early game, very easy to execute late games, and they have the Kaisa to dive in with them as well. For BLG, they actually have to keep Jingdong at arm's length.
I will say, though, for BLG, they have a lot of comfort picks coming into this one. You've got Skarner into the jungle. We've seen that plenty of times out of Chieftain. Mid lane, as he said, just a very blanket Talia coming into the mid lane. Jin Zhao on his namesake champion, Jin in the bottom lane. And Amazing J also got priority in what he wanted in the top lane from Gangplank. So maybe there isn't a lot of cohesion, but in terms of what they want to play themselves, I feel like they're okay.
I think Team BLG, they need to weather the storm in terms of the first initiation coming out from Jingdong. If they can somehow manage to pull their carries out of that big pit fight, then they do have a good counter-engage composition. But first, they have to survive the first impact coming out from Zach.
I mean, that pretty much is, that's the whole game in a nutshell, what you just said there, Clement. It's like, survive the early game, then go to team fights because you're BLG, you're good at team fights, you're probably going to roll over most of the teams in the LPL, especially JD Gaming. So strike hard, strike fast, try and win through that laning phase in the early game if you're JD.
There is a lot of danger in this composition from BLG, though. It does shut down a lot of things that they're actually really strong at. The long-range engage that FLICKR was talking about from Amazing J, it's not here this game. The mid lane priority, it's not here this game either. So a lot of engines from BLG are actually being shut down. They have to play the counter-engage style, and they have to weather the first blow coming out from Jingdong Gaming. So that's not always an easy thing to do. And my biggest criticism for BLG is that when they fall behind in the mid game, they're not a very good team at recovering. They actually just take the punches, and it never looks like they find they're comfortable at going in and taking it to their opponents. We've seen that against W, we've seen that against EDG. It can't happen this time.
And this BLG roster is relatively new, and while they've had a very good run, heading into playoffs, it was a 4-series win streak coming out of them. They also went against some of the weaker teams in the LPL, right? Like maybe FPX was one of the teams you could say around the middle of the pack, nearing the standards of BLG, but taking wins against like TOP, for example, OMG, like you're really looking at Radovici, like you're looking at BLG making very easy wins right there. So it's just like, how good is this roster really?
And I really think BLG has been one of the dark horses, but also the most untested team, just like you said. They did have that massive 9-game win streak, but they did it against 3 non-playoff teams. They basically were beating up on the lower tiers of the LPL, and you can actually just expect them to win in those cases. This is their first time they're actually going to meet up in the Beasts of the East. that's where all the monsters really lie in the LPL right now. So this is going to be a big moment for BLG. Are they really on that hype train, or have they just been given a pass?
Oh yeah, I mean, in cross-conference, we really got to see what the East was made out of. The top 3 didn't drop a single game. They were 21-0 coming out of the cross-conference. So you're absolutely right. Now it's really crunch time for BLG. Even if they win here, you've got Rogue Warriors to go and then EDG. So the road doesn't get easier.
Oh, definitely it doesn't. And on the other hand, I actually felt like Jingdong closed out their season strong. They took down opponents like RNG, took down Rogue Warriors, and also took down Sunny to finally claw their way back into playoffs. These guys were sitting at 2nd place in the Eastern Conference before Uzi made his return. So Jingdong is on a uptick. I wouldn't count them out, and I really don't see them being as weak as a lot of people anticipate.
As you can see right now, seems there is a small issue on stage. I just saw one of the refs talking to Jin Jiao right there. So trying our best to get that one sorted as fast as possible. But yeah, I definitely just want to mirror those sentiments, Clement. Like, definitely, if you look at the strength of schedule, you know, JD, it was much more impressive what they managed to pull off at the end of the split. Like, Blitzcrank was a small part of that as well, heading into that 3rd and final game. So for JD, eking into the playoffs, getting there in the very end, impressive feat, but they have to now play in the playoffs. If they want to make this run, they have to do it against BLG, who have the point advantage. Then they have to go up against the same track we just mentioned, Rogue Warriors and EDG.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult track for either of these teams to really reach the top. What they can be happy about is that there is no Invictus Gaming on their side of the bracket.
Yeah, that's a silver lining right there, Clement. As we take a look at the comps one more time, did just confirm it was a small audio issue on stage, but as you can see, we are ready to head into game here. The crowd is absolutely packed and ready for this one here to cheer on their teams as we get onto the Rift for Team BLG versus Jingdong Gaming.
I do think that shopping is much more popular than anime in China.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, but that is because the manager, I believe, from JD follows the team wherever they go, and he's there every single time. I'm sure he has to rest his voice in between weeks as well, just for that one shout. But for everyone at home, this is effectively, in like a Western sense, Crunchyroll versus Amazon. Like, to compare it, like BLG, massive streaming website, JD essentially is like as big, maybe even bigger than Amazon in China. So this is a big deal in terms of organizations.
Take a look at the runes here. Well, actually, the Camille is going to go with something more poke-oriented. We have been seeing a lot of press the attacks, and Conqueror is also enabled on this patch, but Zoom not going for it yet. Everything else, I think, is pretty standard.
Yeah, Comet, I mean, just the fact it's been around for so long as well, you know exactly how to play around it, whereas I feel like, especially for Camille, you have to go in for poke trades using your precision protocol, so slightly harder really to get that use out of Conqueror in the laning phase at the very least.
Oh, this is really interesting because I think Klid is setting up for a very early gank into the bot lane right here. Jingdong actually kind of tried to be very devious with where Klid started. They're faking a leash that they leash for Klid. So they're trying to make BLG think that Klid will be going towards the top side.
Yeah, he is indeed pathing towards the top side right now. Just saw the runes as well coming out of Loken actually went for Resolve Secondary, taking Bone Plating and also Chrysalis. Basically, what every Bruiser takes in the top lane just gives you so much strength in the laning phase.
Oh, but BLG, you know, they really sniffed out this treachery coming out from Jingdong Gaming. They have a very good idea on where Klid is going to go to next. They have that ward there, and they understand that Klid is most likely going for an SOFM clear, where he goes back to that side of the jungle, takes up the blue and the Gromp at the same time, and look for a gank.
Meanwhile, Chieftain looking for his opportunity to start coming in with these invades, because Chieftain, we see it all the time, he goes into the enemy jungle with his right-hand man Mole. He's always got that pushing lane ready for him, so he can go in for these 2 versus often 1 engages into the jungle. So look out for that one in the next couple of minutes, as now Chieftain is in fact making his way into the bottom river.
Yeah, that was really good information sharing from the mid lane and the jungle coming out from BLG right there. Talia being the one to go into the jungle, set those wards up, and then be ready to invade alongside Chieftain.
Here we go, Chieftain just making himself known. We'll walk up to the blue buff here and is pushing Clear away from this one, looking for the smite battle. Chieftain will secure it. What's the rotation for the lanes though? In comes Mao first to the scene, and Chieftain, there's nothing to slap him towards, so he's just going to take the Spire in front of Cleared and take away his blue buff and simply walk out. No, he's not done. He's going to walk in and place down another ward.
This is absolute disaster from Clid right here. That's the biggest weakness of Zac in the jungle in the early levels. You can't really take those fights against those bruiser type of champions right there. And it was just good play on BLG. Jingdong, they tried to fake out by doing a fake leash. They didn't actually do the leash. They let Zac start with the wolves. But BLG called them out on it. They just went into their jungle, placed wards, and basically mapped out what Clid was going to do for the next couple of minutes.
You know, just talking about like pre and post Mole Chieftain era, when you compare them to Athena and SKS, you can see jungle CSD at 20, not only from a small deficit to a massive advantage now for the jungle just alone, and the gold difference, of course, going to be following that. Even in terms of kills and how Chieftain is able to impact these lanes, massive difference.
We've really seen two very different trajectories for these teams. BLG, from week 8, they had Mole and Chieftain, and they shored up their early game. For Jingdong, they actually got Loken back in week 9, and he's been doing 36% of the team's damage in the last week. They've been shoring up their late game. So it's really about have each of these teams really patched up their weaknesses to the point where they can overcome the other.
You know, and you would look towards BLG saying maybe they have patched up the weaknesses more than JD heading into playoffs right now, taking a map off of EDG in their final game of the season. Then you look towards, you know, JD, and they've had a rocky ride. Like, their high highs, super good. Like, they can take wins against Rogue Rise, against RNG, some of the best in the league. But the lows mean they can also drop games against some of the weaker teams.
Oh, yeah. And when you talk about their lows, you think about past 25 minutes.
Well, Clid's going to find Chieftain in his jungle. This time, the Gao is here to try and counter-gank Chieftain. Heavily wounded, but here comes Mole to try and save him. The right-hand man seems like he's going to get him out of this one. And here's the Wanderer as well. Mole turns up to the mid lane.
And this is one of the big advantages here for how BLG plays so aggressive with their mid and jungle duo. Road is always on the roam. He's always looking to go forwards.
But Mao is doing the same, chased him up to the mid lane, but Road is already moving towards the bottom now, looking for his own recall. So just in terms of tempo, Bilibili always the first to get to these fights.
Yep, and they're the ones looking for them at the start as well. Jingdong Gaming, they did have the drop onto Chieftain, but they couldn't continue with the fight because Road was already there to support his team. And this is a big thing about the bot lane from Jingdong. If you're talking about Kai'Sa and Blitzcrank, it's a very weak lane. It's not a lane where you can expect any CS advantages. So this is going to allow Road to have a lot of free time to roam elsewhere.
Of course, then we have to look towards the top side of the map, the solo lanes, as the Alan's desk was saying. You're looking towards your Gao and Zoom, the dumpling duo, to really get something happening in the early game. Clid's going to be the one facilitating, but so far we have essentially an equal game. Bilibili with the tiniest of advantages in terms of CS, but obviously that's good things further down the line because BLG usually gets a team fights behind. If you think about SKS in the Athena era, it would always be a comeback story, but now BLG, even or ahead, gets a team fight, roll over the opposition.
And that just comes down to Chieftain, man. If you look at all of the CS lead, it's basically on that Skarner alone. Already 5 camps ahead of his opponents. And this is what Chieftain brings to you. He brings a much more aggressive tempoed early game. He's going to drag your mid laner into the jungle with him.
The bottom lane always going to be volatile in this one, as we essentially have Hook City, Rhodes and Mouth. They connect to Death Sentence, connect to Rocket Grab, then Sparks will fly in the bottom lane, but neither of those things have happened just yet. And I am looking towards Chieftain once again, completely controlling the bottom river. It's lit up like a Christmas tree, and he's just going to go ahead and recall.
I do feel like BLG, they are the ones that need kind of a big advantage and also a steady, smooth sailing to really close this game out. They're running a very fragile composition. If you look at the late game, Zoom, Zac, Blitzcrank, like, it's just too easy for something to go wrong in that scenario. So I think they need a very big lead early and just try to coast on that lead towards the late game. If they're even footing later on, I just don't see this composition winning out.
You can see some of the champions that AJ has played this split. Of course, Gangplank up there along with Ornn, seeing the Vladimir. Honestly, recently I looked towards the Ornn, I'm like, that's probably one of the most impressive ones I've seen in the LPL.
Oh yeah, I call him the pain train conductor. He's so good on that Scion, so good on that Ornn. If he can set up a team fight for you, then it's going to be like something miraculous. It's going to be a 5 or 4-man knockup that's going to happen in the top lane. Also, a really cool stat we just were shown there was that he takes the most damage to kill out of any top laner for a single death. So he's taking a lot of brunt of the damage, and he's still managing to survive a lot of times in this team fights.
He's also facing down Zoom in this one. one of the most dominant laners in the top lane. He's definitely been like the silent but deadly in the top lane. You look at the flashy players like the Shy, and it's like, man, solo kill after solo kill. But the Shy is in a category of his own. But then when you look at everybody else, Zoom's up there. He has all of the laning stats. He wins the lanes. We've seen the solo kills as well that he's gotten over some of the best in the top lane. Like, don't sleep on this guy. He will find solo kills.
I do call Zoom the inverse AJ. While AJ is great in team fights, he's not very good in lane. Zoom is the exact opposite. A lot of times, I really don't know what he's doing in team fights, but he is very good in lane.
Yeah, get those advantages, especially into a gangplank right here. We saw Amazing J actually take grasp in this one, so it's not going to be the hyper-greedy build. Often see him start manning crystal. That's going to be a hook on both of them, in fact. But Mao is the one over the wall right now. Here comes Clid into the fight, but he's instantly impaled out from Chieftain. I'm going to turn into Veng just yet, but Loken is approaching the play. They're still chasing down Clid. He has to flash away. Gets the CC down onto Chieftain. Yagao also turns up. He doesn't have the damage right now. And we've got Jin opening fire. 2 shots onto Clid. Going to be another kill coming out there. A 1-to-1 trade so far for BLG and JD. But BLG should be able to get away with this blue buff.
Yep, and they do get it away onto Jin Zhao. That was a good fight setup from BL.
Oh!
But Kaisa with the W, able to snipe out Chieftain as well to make that a 2-for-2, and she also got the red buff.
Caught in the crossfire out from Yagao and Loken, just sniped him from 2 angles. I mean, he was literally full health. That was a full health Skarner.
Yeah, and he just disappeared instantly. That was a much better setup from BLG. They knew that they could keep Zoom in the top lane and assist with that cannon barrage down into the bot lane as well. Chieftain has had a much better game compared to Clid the entire way through, but in terms of the kill trade, they actually just end up even. And if you look at where those kills are going to, that's a real worry, sign of worry for BLG right now, because Kaisa picking up 2 kills early, ooh, that's really dangerous. She's already going for her Quinsus.
That is definitely cause for concern. I agree with that one for sure, but we get to see that engage, and he drags him over the wall with the death sentence.
Yeah, definitely a better Hook City coming out from Road right there, taking Lumal over the wall, and they're forcing Clid into a very uncomfortable position. Talia's already here as well. She does get the wall into the back line, and Clid is kind of just trapped in this scenario. Great cannon barrage coming out from Amazing J in the top lane. It basically forces the right side to move away here, and honestly, BLG should just walk away with this 2-for-1 trade and the blue buff. We have to watch it again. Already being slept on right there. That's going to increase the damage from the next spell, and the final touches coming out from Kaisa from Loken right there. That is a 3000 range skill on her W, and she's able to snipe out Chieftain.
Some absurd damage coming out of that duo right there, and that's early Gwinsus. We're 11 minutes into the game, and Kaisa has Gwinsus. So if you're looking for a carry, if you're looking for that late game insurance, then Loken looks like he's on track so far in this game.
That's just so unfortunate. To have been suppressed in lane the entire time and just come out of it with a complete Gwinsus, I feel really bad for Jin Zhao right now.
We see, and again, another small invade coming out of Chieftain, and Rhodes coming up here. Rhodes just cleaning up this track. Again, finds Chieftain in the jungle, but he's still able to hit the blast cone. Clid has found him, however. Hits him with the stretching strike. There's the pull coming out from Mao, and the slide all the way back to the team. Clid is down, but Rhodes is separated from the team. Here's Jin opening fire, trying to provide cover fire for his support, and he has done so. Mao takes a lot of damage on the back half of that Zoom, chasing them down. Talia picks up the kill onto Blitzcrank, and Yagao and Loken trying to retreat now as Zoom is pushing forwards. He takes a big crit shot to the back of the head as he's trying to retreat, and Loken, he's caught out. Magnificent flick coming out of Mole.
And Mole coming out of the woodwork with a triple kill right there. That was a great play from BLG. They used their range advantage so well. They kited Jingdong, who are stuck in the middle of that river both ways. You could see Mole coming in from the back line and also the front line moving away at the last possible moment. Well played on all fronts from BLG, and that's a very rare execution that we see in League of Legends. A flanking team being able to kite around this massive engage from Jingdong, splitting them apart and taking them apart as well.
Look at that, 4 kills now to Mole in the mid lane, 4-0 and 1. And I would say that if we had any criticisms of BLG and their new roster, it would be maybe their team fighting prowess is slightly weaker than it was with SKS and Athena, but they usually had the advantage in the early game. That kind of demonstrated to me that they have both.
Yeah, and let's watch this fight again. It did start out well for Jingdong. They did get the sleep onto Chieftain, but Chieftain able to take the Lantern away. Clid is stuck in a really bad position. And just watch how beautiful this kiting job was from BLG. They have the front and the back as well. Jinjiao moves away at the last moment to dodge the Sleepy Trouble bubble, and Mole comes in from the side to finish the job.
And JD kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Someone was going to be sacrificed right here. And it was Loken, unfortunately, going down. Triple kill in for Mole at the end of that.
And that's exactly how BLG have to play this game. They have to weather their first initiation from Jingdong, pull away and pull them to pieces right there. The big thing that did change in this matchup now is Mole should have full control over that mid lane. He already has most of his mana items complete, and if he can move into that bot lane, get that 4v2 going, BLG could open this map up in the next 5 minutes.
JD now are behind on the map, and this is, very scary. Yes, they have the long range gauge. Yes, they have, Loken as the carry in the late game, but it doesn't seem like right now they're going to be able to reach that late game at an even footing, as BLG are actually taking the advantage in the early game again. What you really want to be hoping for as JD is to really just try and diffuse BLG's invades that are coming out. But so far, it seems like Chieftain and Mo are able to do what they have been doing over the last 5 sets.
And the time is also ticking for the top lane. In this matchup, Camille doesn't get a free pass. You need to stay ahead of the game plank to remain relevant. A reason why Amazing J's game plank is his most played champion is the fact that he's been willing to go for the Undying Grass very early on in the season. He's been able to weather a lot of the split pushes and come out still ahead with just the Parlay gold. He doesn't need the Kleptomancy gold. So this game plank that he's playing in the late game, we've seen him multiple times being able to weather the storm against split pushers. Now, if that lane doesn't go well for Zoom, then his team fighting is also a very far cry from Amazing J. So it's about time that Jingdong need to put some resources into that top lane.
Yeah, because we've barely seen anything out of the top lane right now, so maybe a gank coming in from cleared into the top side, because clearly the bottom side of the map is not going well for JD right now. Complete control in terms of vision. Dragon just went down over to Chieftain as well, basically single-handedly. We had Mole just blocking the mid lane. At best, JD were able to get their blue buff at the very least, but it just seems like they are bleeding resources out across the map now.
Yep, they're having a very hard time holding on to their own blue buff area right now. Every time BLG gets a chance, they're going to send Chieftain in. They're going to send Mole in, who has the lane priority right now in the mid lane as well.
Looking towards this top lane, and this is essentially a gangplank lane. Like, yes, it's a losing matchup, as on most matchups, but just able to sit at range, parlay for farm, parlay to Camille for extra gold. Clid is now moving towards the top lane, however, so this could be a play from JD in the makings.
Jingdong do want to play a 4-1 if it does come to the later stages of the game, and they do need to keep that Camille rolling right now, because Gameplank, I believe he has more gold than Zoom.
Here comes the package. Cleared into the top lane, gets the CC down onto Amazing J. He slapped towards a minion. Zoom looking to put down the dash, but here's Chieftain with the counter gang. Amazing J's low, but he drags away to Camille back to the tower. Amazing J still alive. Finally, he'll go down. Mo in from the mid lane, special delivery. He'll get that kill, and Yagao has to kite away now. The rest of the team dead, and just the bloblets to die.
And another 2-for-1 going to BLG. Mo goes up to 5 kills. And just look at how Road is rotating around the map. The first thing they know when there's a play in the top side, they instantly go for the more prioritized objective on the map. They go for the mid lane, and they're able to chunk down quite a good portion of it.
And none of these plays are working out here for JD. Even when they initiate the play, Chieftain with the counter gang roaming towards the top side, mid lane as well. The fact that Mole is on Talia and can react if a trade goes long, it's just like diffusing everything that JD wants to do here. Yagao is poking Chieftain, trying to poke him off of this Rifthold right now. We also see the teleport coming in from Zoom. Do not want to allow Chieftain to get this one for free. He's dropping it dangerously low, though. He wants the reset. There we go.
Yep, Chieftain did have the smite for that one, but wasn't willing to commit to finishing it. Camille already coming back onto the map with that Triforce power spike is able to scare him away.
Yeah, so Chieftain will have to go back to base first, pick up some items, then once again just walk up with his laners and see if they can actually look for a skirmish and maybe a kill into a Herald. But it's not going to be quite that easy, not quite as easy on the bottom side when you have the dual lane to roam up for the Dragon. So BLG at the very least will be stymied in that respect. Again, Hook going wide in the bottom lane. A lot of skill shots, just kind of a war of attrition right now as Kai'Sa and the Jhin are both scaling up.
And we can see what BLG are trying to do right now. They're trying to take control over that bot side river so they can set up for that 4v2 play in the bot lane. This is their big moment. If they can break that open, they take control of the next couple of dragons, and those are infernal breaks.
Amazing J being blocked from moving towards the river right here by Zoom. to take out this ward as well, so he's just trying to suppress Amazing J right now, maybe put him in a gank position as well if Clid wants to roam towards the top side again. Chieftain's actually on the bottom side of the map here, so this would be much more successful if Clid pulls the trigger.
I like what Clid's trying to do here is basically trying to find a chance where he can snipe out Mole. If Mole goes down, that diffuses the 4v2 play bottom, and it also gives Yagao a chance to snowball himself back into the game. However, Mole knows this as well, and he's been playing very careful in the mid lane.
For sure. Still 5-0-2, has not died a single time. Is at 2 items right now at the 18-minute mark. Bot lane is about to fall for a first tower of the game, and all of that juicy gold will go over to Jin Zhao. Meanwhile, on the top lane, Zoom might get a trade right here because Amazing J is cut off from the supply line. He's unable to reach the top lane since Clid is in the jungle.
Yeah, I really feel like the plan with Clid this game has failed horrifically. They haven't gotten any ganks in top or in bot either.
Mid lane's also very low from the poke coming in from Mole. Chieftain off to the side. Tower's low itself. Mao searching for a potential hook, but this tower is essentially dead. One more minion wave will do it. Just need the AD carry to step up. And Clid, he was ready to engage. If BLG went for another push, he was ready to go in, but not going to be today.
Zoom still doesn't have his teleport up, so that would be a 5v4 scenario in the mid lane. I think that BLG could have actually just stayed a little bit while longer and actually taken that tower down, but didn't want to go for the risky play at all. This is what BLG looks like in the mid game. They are very conservative.
And Amazing J makes his way back to the top lane. We'll catch a lot of this farm as it's bouncing towards his tower now, and the Gangplank, yes, he's down around 40 farm to Zoom, but you know, Parlay will definitely even up the numbers for certain. And now we get into this roaming phase of the game now for both teams, and that's where I start to feel like we're going to see some of those hooks come out from Mao and Roden. A lot of those will dictate how these skirmishes will go.
If you run a composition like this, there's no way you don't get a pick the entire game. Like, it has to happen sometimes. Like, you have Zoe, you have the Blitzcrank hook, and you have Zac as well. Like, that's just too much engage. And my question is really, how much can they get from that miracle fight?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The law of probability definitely states that at some point, something's got to hit.
Yeah.
Towards the top side, and no one picked up the Herald in the end, since JD defended that one, so Baron has just spawned. And Chieftain, does he know Clid is there? Well, he doesn't right now. Flash forwards onto Yagao, and he's going to slide back with the Lantern once more. But Yagao, he's running away from this play, and the Thresher's dead. It will be a 1-for-1 trade. But here comes Jin Zhao opening up, opening fire on Mao, taking so much damage. He will Zhonya's, though. Go into the stopwatch. He's still going to fall, however.
Another 2-for-1 traded in BLG's favor, and a good use of the Skarner and Thresh combination once more. They are the first team in the LPL to start this trend here, and you can see why they've been so successful with it.
Take down mid lane, 2 towers to 1 for BLG, and they get to rotate towards the Dragon, which happens to be an Infernal Dragon for themselves, so BLG is going to be even stronger when it gets to these fights and skirmishes. We'll be very happy with this. We'll see what the next Dragon's going to be. Looks like it's another Infernal.
The problem for Jingdong right now is they just don't have the vision to be the ones on the offensive. This is a very good catch combination, but you need to have some setup for that as well. You need your team to be grouped together and wait for someone to walk into vision and grab them out of thin air. They just don't have the map presence to do so.
The grab and slide.
Oh, that was so cool to watch. Dumao does get a hook on his own, but that's only on the enemy support. And look at this Kai'Sa. If she doesn't have a front line to back her up, the Hurricane build really isn't that powerful. You want to be constantly auto-attacking and stacking Plasma on a front line, but when the enemy gets the drop on you, you just never get a chance to deal damage.
Unfortunate, and Loken is also looking towards his fight as well, though Chieftain walking into a death rush set up by JD Gaming, though he's still alive. That was a weird interaction. Clid actually escapes out of the Impale right there.
Yeah, that was really good on Clid's part. He used the ultimate to get the unstoppable. So that put Chieftain's ultimate Impale onto cooldown, and he was able to walk away from the Thresh.
Perfect timing, because he even took the Death Send, or the Dark Passage, so he was about to turn up to BLG in the waiting arms of Jin Zhao in the mid lane. So well played to Clid right there. And right now, JD are being very proactive. I like to see this out of them. They place a lot of vision in River, just trying to deny vision for BLG, forcing them to walk into these dark areas.
This is just such a good bait play from BLG coming out of here. Chieftain is like the lantern on top of a lanternfish, you know? He's there to try to bait you in, try to bite, and then he's going to bring you into the jaws of BLG.
He's been successful a couple times this game. And Mao is sitting on top of a control ward, as Blitzcranks are wont to do, searching for the the occasional prey to walk by and find the hook. And right now, it seems like Road is the one on the line, but that's going to walk out here. Not going to happen. There's a lot of traps actually set up by Jinjiao around this mid lane. And we're kind of stalled out for now. We're just waiting for one of those big engage spells to go up.
If Jingdong can keep this scenario on the map until like 35 minutes, where Camille is definitely going to have a split push lead, they could leverage that bot lane a lot more and try to play with that 5v4 advantage in the mid lane as well. But for now, Jingdong, they can't really split BLG up. BLG knows that there's only a 4-man on the map in the top side, so they're grouping as 4 themselves, and that really neutralizes what Jingdong wants to do in terms of like an initiate and catch team fight.
Zoom can only push so far with that tower being down in the bottom lane. If there's a rotation from BLG, he wouldn't see it coming. So it's hard for him to really continue pushing up against this gangplank. And BLG, they're just sitting in the mid lane, accumulating resources. Right, if this goes on for a long amount of time, then JD, yes, they will get the chance to scale up. But BLG, for now, it just feels like a matter of time before they make a big play. They're playing around the Baron now, and it's always around this fog of war. But, JD will be able to reveal right here. It's just this push and pull from both teams that we're seeing.
The distance that they're able to set these...
There it is, finds the Impale,
wow.
drags it back to the team again. I didn't even see Blitzcrank fall. He's dead.
Yeah, so it's basically a hook city, but I know who has the better hooks. It's definitely BLG.
Yeah, well,
right
one's
there.
a point and click, so it's much easier to attach onto.
That's the most deceptive red camp that I've ever seen being set up. So you still see the mid lane, like Jin and Thresh are still in the mid, but they're able to execute that at the same time.
It's just so strong. It's like they just fusion danced into just a better Blitzcrank, you know, with those 2 champions alone. Here comes Chieftain. He's sitting on top of this red buff. He's about to take a nap. We're going to have a smite battle right now. A lot of damage onto Chieftain. He's in place and good smite out of cleared, so he will secure this one over to JD.
The pressure from BLG is really getting overwhelming at this point. And I really like how they're doing all of this, invading into the enemy jungle with their minion waves synced up as well. They had the bot lane pushed up, they had mid lane pushed up, and then when they realized Jingdong couldn't contest them in the red, they went top lane and took down a tower. So this is just great play from BLG Gaming. It really shows that they are the more experienced squad compared to Jingdong.
And that was the question, right? Because we've seen this new roster go up against a lot of easier matchups for themselves. So are they the real deal? Will they actually be able to come through the early game cleanly against some of the better teams in the league? Well, right now, we've definitely seen it out from BLG. Even when put in a confrontation against JD, often able to just out-mechanic their way out of these fights.
I think their fight setup has just been much better than Jingdong Gaming. I wouldn't go as far as to say their mechanics are better, but their coordination, what they want to do and how they want to execute, they're just on a completely different level than Jingdong Gaming. Jingdong Gaming, they picked themselves a lot of initiation, and they were just hoping that something would stick. That's basically their game plan for now. But BLG, they go further. They have more chapters in their book.
Just waiting for someone to walk into JD's crosshairs. That is the goal right now. Mao is constantly sitting in these brushes, as is cleared. Someone walks away from the team. If they just become a straggler, maybe we can pick them off. But the buddy system seems to be one truly alive here for BLG. With the bottom lane and the mid lane, and the mid and jungle duo just walking around. And Amazing J off of the fairies in the bottom lane. We haven't really seen much of Camille and Gangplank this game, to be honest, but it's just been a big 4v4 in the mid lane.
Yep, and BLG, they are getting to that point where they have enough of a gold lead that even when Jingdong gets the perfect initiation, BLG could still come out ahead. They're 7k up already.
Theoretically, this is where Zoom should shine. That's a lot of damage out from Precision Protocol, but Zoom has to flash away. Here's the Jin ultimate opening up, but Amazing J gets the solo kill on Zoom. Nice hook out there onto Loken. He's in place, has to cleanse out of that one. Down goes the Blitzcrank, and a drag again onto Loken. Can't dodge that hook. That's going to be one kidnap away from Amazing J, but now he's just maybe sealed his own death here. Cleared, trapped in place. That's 4 kills for 0 over to BLG. And going into these bloblets, it's about to be the ace.
BLG with a magnificent fight right there, wiped Jingdong completely. Amazing J starting off with the solo kill. This is what we're talking about. This is why you go undead, the Grass of the Undying onto the Gangplank. If you scale out enough in the early game and there are no successful ganks for the Camille, you can actually become the split pusher yourself. Jingdong, their game plan has completely fallen apart because Klid has fallen apart. He's applied no pressure to the lanes where he really needs to get snowballs going. Jingdong, you know, they had a lot of snowball potential with the Camille, with Yagao, and with Kaisa as well, but they just couldn't latch onto any of that.
And BLG have taken so much off that play, and this all started from the 1v1 in the bottom lane.
This was good play from Zoom. He actually dodged most of the barrel damage, but just look how far ahead Amazing J is. He went second item Sterix Gauge, not for the armor penetration items, just so he could match up to Camille in the later parts of the game. And watch this engage from Mo. They're basically pulling apart Jingdong from two directions. Bull gets the back line, and then Skarner, Thresh get the front.
Yep. We saw Clid just kidnapping 2 over the wall and then realized that may have just sealed his own fate. 5-0 there for BLG. They pick up the Baron, they go towards the Dragon. That's their second Infernal now. And this seems almost an insurmountable gold lead now for JD to try and go up against. 58,000 at 29 minutes.
They just don't have enough damage to deal with BLG at this point. Sure, they have a lot of carries, but none of them are fed. None of them have really reached their true potential. They didn't snowball well in the early game, and their fight setup is being exposed. It's much inferior to BLG.
You know, both solo lanes, we're looking towards that dumpling duo, Zoom and Yagao. What have you got for us? And is it the chicken or the egg? Was it coming out of Clid? Was it coming out of the solo lanes? Well, something went wrong in this game. Those solo lanes did not get ahead. And when your Camille is being 1v1'd by a gangplank, something has gone horrifically wrong.
I think they tried to play it too clever in the early level 1, and that's just been where it's snowballed. They didn't leash for their jungler, and they got spotted out and called out.
There's a curtain call, chasing down Clid and Yagao. The team is following through as well. Yagao, final crit shot. Nice block there from Mao. That probably would have been Yagao's doom, but it forced everyone from JD away from these inhibitors. The grand prize at the end of the day will still go down. Double inhibs to BLG.
And Jingdong, they have to look for a miracle right now if they want to go up against BLG. Not a lot they can do at this point. We're looking at the gold graphs, and sure enough, the gangplank, even down in CS, is so far ahead of the Camille, he can take him on 1v1.
Yeah, in the mid lane though, 50% extra gold for Mole. Yeah, that's a 5,000 gold lead he has in the mid lane.
You know, I guess someone wasn't very happy that we gave Rookie of the Split to Yagao.
Hey, Mole's only been here for like, what, 4 weeks maybe, max? He hasn't been here for a long time, but absolutely Chieftain and Mole have just exploded onto the scene in the LPL, seamlessly working with BLG. Now it's pretty much just consolidating resources, take everything in the jungle, pick up the buffs, get ready for potentially the game-winning fight now for BLG.
Yeah, the one I'm looking at is really the Skarner. He can rush into the enemy composition. He's tanky enough. He has enough levels where he won't really die off immediately, and he can just pull someone back into their composition. It's so easy to execute for BLG.
When in doubt, Death Brush.
Thanks, Fnatic.
Someone will walk by. It's just a matter of time. And Yagao, go up there, you be bait. Walk on past. Amazing J's behind the minion wave there. Almost passed through it. Now the team's all going to retreat. JD weren't really feeling a fight. They just wanted the pick. They didn't want the whole cake.
There's no reason that BLG would send Amazing J on his lonesome towards multiple brushes. So Jingdong definitely smelt danger right there. Like, this doesn't look good.
Yeah, I appreciate the look there though. They can make that happen. And Mao is on the wrong side of the wall, but luckily BLG are just here for the tower. Oh, just kidding. Because they've just trapped in Blitzcrank, and Clid goes over the wall by himself. He's going to take so much damage. Chieftain has got a target in his sights, and he's dead before he can drag him back to the team. Opening up fire. Here comes Jin Zhao once more. Zoom! Bang! There's the kill. Loken back onto the spawn pad, and it's now a 1 versus 5 affair.
All 3 inhibitors down, and it does look like BLG are going to seal the game right here.
Double Nexus turrets go down at the exact same time. 19 kills to 4. An absolute destruction of this first game in this best of 5. BLG take the win and are at match point.
Jingdong, I felt like they had the better composition coming into here. They had the overwhelming initiation and also lanes that could scale better in towards the late game. However, it was the early game where BLG, out of all places, shut Jingdong down.
I mean, that was essentially classic BLG. You know, what we were expecting for them coming into playoffs here. I think just got to see it in action.
Yeah, this is just the Chieftain showcase. This has been his game to really play. Like, he trounced over Clid and his Zac in the early game. Didn't allow him to farm, didn't allow him to gank, matched everything, got Mole rolling in the early game as well. I would not be surprised if he was the man of the match.
Will not be surprised at all. That early game was fantastic coming out of BLG. I just love that combo every single time. The Skarner and the Thresh combo. We just saw it over and over and over again. And Mal, I think he was trying to basically get the same thing, but turn it into a skill shot. We never saw any good hooks come out of JD.
And the reason was he never found an opportunity to actually hook. That's not a very strong 2v2 lane. You need the jungler there. And throughout most of the game, BLG had Jingdong's complete jungle lit up. They knew where Clid was going. They never gave him a chance to do anything on the map.
Yeah, the element of surprise was definitely lost for JD and never really able to find that engage. But I then looked to the jungle as well. You know, Clid didn't really impact those solo lanes. They didn't get those ones ahead, and that's what you need to look towards. You know, if you have a Camille versus Gangplank matchup, you want the Camille to win the split push.
Yeah, you need to snowball that lane earlier on, and I think they're going to go back to the drawing board and try to help Clid stand up to Chieftain in the early game. That's going to be their #1 problem to fix. I thought the composition was fine. I thought the execution could have used more work, but that's the main point they need to take away from this.
Try and win through that early game here for JD. For now, though, we are going to send it back to the analyst desk to take a look at game 1.
Thanks, guys. And now BLG are 1 game away from making it into the semi-finals. This was FLICKR and Sign, and Frost, you've given this to me, and you told me to hold on to it. Why is that?
Keep it for the finals, boy, because they're going all the way there.
All the way to the finals.
All the way.
BLG looking really good in this first match alone. This is just round 1 of playoffs. They've got to go through the semis, to the quarters, all the way to the finals to try and make it.
Quarters and semis, I understand. Reading's hard.
Readings is...
It's okay, I love
The point is they could make it, Fish. They won the
I'm done.
first game and they're 2-0.
I'm going to take this sign and I'm going to, head on out here now. But yes, they're able to pick up the first match against JDG here. And had an interesting team composition. They used the Skarner as well as Thresh composition quite well, something that we've seen in the LCK quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's not just, the Thresh and the Skarner. It's the fact of how it's working with the Talia, having those pebbles laid down, and you drag someone with the Skarner ultimate, you're still doing damage via those abilities. So it was a really well thought out composition, but I also then want to point to JD's comp. I think Zac is the worst possible pick for someone like Clid and for someone like JD. And the reason why is he's not a tempo jungler. The fact is that he needs level 5 before he can be really successful with those ganks. And so if JD have to win before 15 minutes, have to find a gold lead, at 18 minutes they were down 5k gold, you cannot do it with a jungler like Zac, because Skarner was able to just out-tempo him, quickly farm, light up his jungle, and contest every single blue.
I think to conceptualize this as well, what JD were thinking is that they picked for individuals. They didn't necessarily pick for the team composition. As an example, their 4th pick was a Zoe, and the reason you go for Zoe here is because you don't want the enemy team to have the Zoe, as they've already set up a Jhin composition, a very strong pick comp with the Thresh, the Skarner available as well later, and ultimately they picked this to deny it, and they still gave BLG what they wanted in the end anyway. The Talia's good into the Zoe. They've got the Skarner that can farm through the jungle. The Blitzcrank's just a big question mark. And
should have been an Alistar.
Yeah, should have been an Alistar. I think it was there because you can pull a Skarner when he pulls you, but a Thresh Lantern ruined that completely. And I think the BL Griffin comp that we saw out of BLG was fantastic.
And the other thing is why I really want to hop on Alistar is Alistar-Kai'Sa combo. If you're going to pick a kill lane like that, you need to have the all-in engage. Kai'Sa works great with Leona. It's why we saw it banned out. Alistar's the next best go-to, and then also when the ally engages, it applies the immobile CC, so she can quickly use her ultimate if she wants to. So just a lot of holes in JD's composition.
Not just applies the immobile CC, but also applies the stacks to Kai'Sa's passive, making that damage output a lot higher coming out from the AD carry there. We saw the interaction between Thresh as well as Blitzcrank in one of the first few team fights, which surprisingly looked like it was going to go good for JDG when Kai'Sa picked up 2 kills off the back of it.
Yeah, it started off pretty well. You would almost say BLG were the ones going forwards, and when you look at that first fight, it was followed by multiple afterwards. It starts with, and this continued through the rest of them as well, whoever engages the fight seems to be the loser at the very beginning, but BLG just get more from it because they have vision, they have setup, they're constantly prepared for it.
And again, notice what level Clid is at when they want to start having this action. And yes, he is responding to BLG's pressure, but normally if this was BLG Mole and Chieftain, BLG would have gotten slaughtered here. But because it is Chieftain and Mole, they are able to trade 2 for 2 in the end, and this fight follows up 2 minutes later, and BLG get a massive triple kill on the back of it. So immediately out of the gate, we understood what the stakes of this game was going to be. We're going to have very early, heavy skirmishing. BLG are known for their 5v5, but now with this new duo, they can do it pre-15.
And this is the second fight where you've got a 2-0 Kai'Sa running around, but the combo is far too strong from the Skarner ultimate, from the Thresh Lantern, going over the Talia minefields that they can just kill Clid before he can really be relevant in the fight. And the rest of it is just a really clean chase down from the side of BLG, following up and killing the remnants of JD's roster in tatters.
Like you said earlier, FLICKR and Mole was able to pick up a triple kill on the back half of this team fight. He was unstoppable in this match. At the end of the game, he was over 6,000 gold ahead of Yakao alone. He was a huge
carry for BLG in this game.
And reminder, Yagao is not a bad mid laner. Again, he took my rookie of the split. He is a very strong laner. He has had multiple solo kills on very impressive mid laners. We just simply haven't had the tape where Mole fits into the ecosystem of mid lanes. Right now, this is his big first test, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, honestly, him with Chieftain as well, working together, the ability to communicate, even when you bring Road now into the mix on one of his signature picks in the Thresh, it just seems like they fit far too seamlessly as new players into a roster, more so than we've actually really much ever seen in any team that comes into the LPL. And we see roster swaps all the time.
So we saw the early gameplay coming out from BLG there, and it transitioned to the late game teamfight, something that we know them for. And it was amazing Jay again. He's not an initiator, he's on gameplay, but he still somehow finds the late game teamfight for BLG.
And I want to kind of go deep dive into how they do this, and it's their vision control. The thing is that BLG are #1 in the league in terms of wards cleared per minute. That's mostly on the back of Road. And yes, this is a 1v1 solo kill, but it's the information, and it's constantly. If you just look at BLG's ward line, they're known for their flanking teleports. They leave nothing behind them, and they invade your jungle, and the vision all comes up with it. So it's how they're able to find these team fights and get incredible positioning. It's because they know exactly what they're walking into and where to set these traps. Always watch BLG's ward placement. It's one of the most impressive in the LPL.
And I need to ask, was Mole robbed of MVP in this match? Because MVP goes over to Chieftain and the jungle playing Scar.
What?
I'm happy with it going to both, man. I think they both played super well. I know Mole had a fantastic performance, but it was also this guy, and it was the combo that you'll always get to see from BLG with the Thresh, because they are one of the few teams that has such a good Thresh player that they can make that combo work.
He was robbed. I'm sorry. I understand that Chieftain, he looks flashy. He's with the the combo, but Mole, he was so good flying around on that Talia, interacting with multiple lanes. Yes, Skarner was leading the way, but Mole really impressed.
Yeah, but Chieftain was also able to contribute quite heavily for BLG's victory. We know that Chieftain and Mole worked tandem together and been a huge part of the success for BLG in recent weeks. We're going to go into a very quick break. We'll get back with game number 2 in just a bit. Words are hard. It's away to best of 5, and that means BLG are now at match point after winning game number 1 against JDG. JDG worked so hard in the e-commerce wars to fight their way up into the playoff spot, and now is being threatened here by BLG, who narrowly dropped second place in their own conference. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Joining me on the desk is actually going to be Kelsey Moser, the current H2K analyst, as well as Indiana FLICKR and Black. How are you guys doing today?
An LPL enthusiast. Is that still at the tag bottom of their resume?
Yeah, it should be there, for sure. I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to be here, guys.
Are you enjoying the game so far? I mean, we had the first round 1 game we played yesterday between RNG and WE. Now we just saw BLG pick up quite a decisive victory in the last match. How are you enjoying the games in Shanghai so far?
Yeah, they've been pretty good. I mean, they've gone more or less as expected. Fairly one-sided matches in the first round.
Yeah, but weren't you more on the JD hype train rather than the BLG hype train? Not to throw shade.
I think maybe I was just a little bit more on the JD hype train than the BLG hype train because I have a lot of faith in the rookies on the roster, and I think that this team can come through really well, but they didn't really show anything at all in this first game that suggests that they can turn the series around.
So you think it's just going to be close out? Are you on like my side of the train now? You finally agree with FLICKR and that BLG are just going to smash it?
Well, I did say that BLG would win ultimately. I think it's just the approach they're taking is like one of our champions will 1v9. There isn't really necessarily a plan going forward. Whereas I felt like BLG's composition was really holistic and actually had a good game plan and they executed well.
Yeah, BLG executed that composition quite well in game number 1. Now moving into this next match, you said it yourself, like it really feels like JD are trying to find one person to carry the match. And if there's going to be anyone from JD, who is it going to be? Because Rusty was quite faithful in the sense that he thinks JD can pick up one game at least, and it seems like you have the same sentiment that they have the potential to pick up one match in the Specify.
At this point, I really don't think that they do. It's just they seemed really lost that game. They weren't even aware of their own champion power spikes, things of that nature. I guess if someone had to win, it would be Yagao. But Yagao is almost kind of giving up any advantages that he could possibly have to try to make something happen in side lanes, so it just doesn't feel like it's coming together.
And you know, initially I was in agreement with Kelsey. I went with Yagao as well. I'm actually going to flip. I think any victory that JD have has to come in that early game and hit harder, and I think the responsibility shifts to Clid. So Yagao is still certainly part of that formula, but I think Clid needs a more proactive jungler. Unfortunately, they banned Sejuani. I think Sej is a perfect pick because it kind of counteracts that balance of being able to meet Bilibili in those late game 5v5s, having the utility of the Sej, while also having that burst and threat in early game.
Well, we're about to get into that second match in just a bit, but I want to get your thoughts, Kelsey, before we go into the game about what do you think of the overall playoff bracket? Who do you think is going to make it to the semis? Who do you think are going to be the Rift Rivals representatives? And who ultimately do you think is going to go all the way to the finals?
I think ultimately the most interesting semifinal is probably going to be IG versus RNG, and IG should go to the final ultimately and probably win the whole thing. But on the other side, we'll still have some interesting games. It just feels like that's going to be kind of the real final, right? The IG versus RNG. And
something that we were talking about before we came on air with Rusty earlier was the fact that you were saying that BLG could probably take it all the way to the finals, FLICKR. This is a bracket with EDG on the same side of BLG, and you're telling me that BLG are going to be the ones that take down EDG to get to the finals?
I know, I'm normally backing EDG, but they are just not in the holistic form that they need. I've seen too many impressive things from BLG, and they are ramping really hard. I think they are the true dark horse of the LPL playoffs, and if you don't know who this team is, I think they're going to show you another miracle.
Oh, they've been looking so good so far in their first match against JDG. Thank you so much for joining us on Desk, Kelsey. We're going to go into the second match of today, but before we get to our casters, let's hear from Yagao about that final game.
这是第一次进季后赛，对我来说就也很幸运，然后对我自己也更加肯定了吧。希望这次在季后赛里能发挥得更好，然后慢慢变强。接下来我们要跟 BLG 打了，他们换了新人中野嘛，我觉得他们这个新人中野是非常的强的，所以我们打的时候应该要提防住他们。
Yeah, Yagao definitely just identifying the pain point for them in that first game. Chieftain and Mole completely ran them over in the early game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if there's a champion that Clid should be looking for, it would either be the Kha'Zix or the Jarvan. Now, Clid on Jarvan, he's very notorious for ganking early level 2. We've seen it multiple times for him. And that way, he doesn't really need to worry about his jungle pathing.
Yep. But JD, I want to see what they do here, Clement, because when they get to this match point scenario so often in the regular season, because in the LPL we have best threes, and when you get to that third game, they don't go for early game picks. They kind of freak out, and it's like, we can't rest it all in the early game. We have to go scaling. We have to see if we can prolong the game and find more opportunities to win. But against BLG, I feel like you have to strike in the early game.
Yeah, I think BLG right now, they're too smooth for Jingdong to run them over with a super late game composition. If you look at the late game compositions that Jingdong have won with, they've won because of the early game still. So, you know, they still have to focus onto something that gives them initiation power, that gives them a strong early jungle mid duo.
Just going over the bans quickly. Sejuani, Rakan, and Gangplank taken away from BLG, and that will be BLG's bans of Swain, Trundle, and Galio. Our first pick will be JD Gaming coming out of the Ornn. So big takeaway from Amazing J right there, giving that to Zoom in the top lane.
You're only going to see this kind of ban pick against BLG. That's just because Amazing J has a 77% win rate on that champion Ornn. So that being a big takeaway, it opens a lot of power picks towards BLG.
Does indeed, but it's going to be an initial lock-in of Caitlyn right here, even though the gym was so good in that first game. BLG, I would expect them to look towards the jungler right here. Sejuani's already been taken off the table, and we saw how strong that Skarner was in that last game, especially in tandem with the Thresh.
Yeah, this is patch 8.6, so the Caitlyn Morgana composition is a lot stronger against Xayah and said Xayah Rakan compositions. So locking it down early is a very strong point in the draft. However, of course, Jingdong, they have taken away the Rakan themselves.
Yeah, so while we won't see the duo, it also kind of prevents, coming out with that Xayah looking to go scaling anyway. So we'll see what JD do right here. I want to see them go early game. I want to see them look towards that mid game right here. They're spending a lot of time thinking about these picks. Just their playoff hopes on the line right here. Jin will be locking there for Loken, so looking more towards that mid game.
It's a good counter pick against the Caitlyn. Does well in lane against her. But it's not something that we really have seen Loken play on, so I'm kind of in doubt. I'm not sure how well he can actually pilot this champion.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a swap up. This Hover, actually quite like. Cleared, very well-known Lee Sin player, strong on 8.6. Will lock in the Olaf in the end, though, into the jungle.
All right, now BLG, they have set this up. This is a trap for them. So this is the first time that Clid has ever picked an Olaf onto the Rift. And, BLG, they've tried to goad him into it by banning away the Trundle. So I actually think that this could be a very well-set trap for BLG. They could go at him early. Olaf, level 1 on his first rotation, he goes very low in terms of HP. So what I expect is BLG to try to punish that.
Really interesting. And we get the Rek'Sai lock-in as well from BLG, so Chieftain will be able to track him in the early game. I feel like maybe Rek'Sai synergizes with Mole's name a little bit better, but that will go into the jungle. Karma will be the final, the next ban out from BLG, looking towards the final phase here in terms of bans.
Yeah, they're taking away what Yagao normally blind picks. Recently, it's been the Karma and also the Orianna in terms of champions that he likes to take on the blue side. BLG, however, they really like to counterpick for Mole. They've been holding on to that pick. It's very different with Athena. With Athena, you usually first pick a Nazir, and with Mole, you can save your last pick because he has a lot of good counters. The Vel'Koz, the LeBlanc, does it all.
I mean, I'm personally excited for a potential Vel'Koz coming onto the Rift. As you said, we saw it very early on when we saw Mole and Chieftain join the lineup. Back towards JD, they'll take away that Shen. So denying that one for both the top lane and also Road, just like to pick up that champion.
I do feel like Jingdong needs a place for this Olaf to actually go to. If you look at the top lane, it's not really going to work there. If you look at the bot lane, like you can negate Olaf axes with just the Black Shield. So this has to have a mid laner with some CCing power to allow Olaf to actually snowball the early game.
Alistair, the final ban out from BLG as well, removing a lot of the engage power in from that bottom lane. I'm going to be cracking that Black Shield of that champion for sure.
BLG has always banned out the Alistar. This is their top priority. They don't want Jin Zhao to die when Road is leaving the lane.
Yeah, Amazing J. We called him the conductor of the pain train, but he's not going to get Ornn, and he's not going to get Sion either. So it will be the big, beefy tank of Cho'Gath in the end into the top lane.
It's a very good matchup into the Ornn as well. He can hold himself there. We have seen a couple of games from Amazing J onto Cho'Gath. Goes with his tank setup as well. The question for Jingdong now is really their mid lane. Like, Clid is not a tempo player. He's more about gank pressure. They don't have anything really set up for him to succeed.
And we have that Tam Kench into the bottom lane though. We saw the Zoe in the first game. Actually, Yagao made a name for himself on that champion, but didn't really ring true in that last game. It's going to be Xia into the mid lane. What do you make of this, Clement?
I don't like this blind pick coming out from Jingdong right here. There's a lot of champions that go well into the Azir matchup. Zoe is one of them. Vel'Koz is one of them. And you know what? Mole plays both of those champs.
He does. They're currently hovering over this Zoe right here, and it would almost be poetic if Mole picks up the Zoe and then ends up winning against Yagao on his own champion that made him famous in the early parts of the split. And there it is. Zoe into the mid lane with the full rosters.
I have no idea what Jingdong's composition is supposed to do. They just don't have a very good theme. Like, yes, they're good in lane and they've taken away things from Amazing J, but holistically, it's just very hard for me to actually see how they're going to utilize their pieces. They're going to be behind in terms of the mid lane. Olaf is not going to have a good lane to gank into. Their team fight is kind of all over the place. I just don't see it.
At the same time, they'll have to try and protect themselves as BLG will definitely continue the onslaught in the early game. It's not going to stop. It's going to keep on coming. You know, Chieftain and Mole will be there in the early game, walking into your jungle. So I want to see what JD have up their sleeve.
For BLG, they just need smooth sailing. They have 3 lanes that push on their own. They have Rek'Sai that can potentially do a lot of damage to Olaf if he's low health early. Like, you could even say they have the scaling components as well with the Caitlyn versus the Jhin. So I just think BLG outdrafted Jingdong incredibly hard this time around.
So JD are just looking towards this laning phase as the last hope right here for the team.
I'm not even sure they have a laning phase advantage anywhere. They get pushed out in the bot lane. Top lane is a bad matchup. Mid lane, not very good as well. Like, yes, Azir can outpush Zoe in the front parts of the game, but once Zoe gets her first back in, she can then control the wave. So, I don't know. It just looks like, it really looks like Clid. They probably need some miraculous level 1 play from Clid and just try to snowball the Olaf as hard as possible, shut down all of the lanes at the same time.
Snowball, the name of the game, and Zoom even prioritizing his Ornn in the top lane as well, so he's not even picking a carry in this one. You know, we saw Camille in the first game into that gangplank. Not going to be the case on this one. Heading into what could be our final game of the night here. Bilibili on match point. I'll be honest, I was expecting the chance to come in right there because they did. Oh, there we go. I'll shut up now. All right, you bamboozled me, sir. Like, in the first game, it was 10 seconds in, immediately come out of the chance. This was 50 seconds, a difference of 40 seconds. What happened?
Yeah, and if you listen to the chants, I think a lot of people switch camps right there. I'm definitely sure that BLG wasn't as loud as Jingdong in the previous game. So, you know, fans, you have to make up your minds. Stop sitting on that fence.
So the funny thing is, about the arena here in Shanghai is generally you sit on one side of the stadium if you're one fan and one on the other. So I kind of want to just look over the barrier right here and see if people would literally just change seats.
You know, they still have their popcorns and drinks on the right side, but they've taken their signs over to the left.
But there's just no fans.
It definitely could have happened. Taking a look at the Keystone runes, I think the big one here is the press the attack for Chieftain. We have seen a split between Electrocute and press the attack. I personally prefer press the attack. You get easier access to Triumph, and it's just it works really well with your 3-hit on the Q as well.
A really nice setup. In the top lane, we'll have 2 big tanks in the top lane, so outside of the first couple levels, maybe Olaf goes up there, maybe Chieftain comes and tries to influence it, but we're probably not going to be seeing top lane islands for a good 15 minutes or so here, Clement. We're going to be looking towards this bot lane and the mid lane.
Yeah, I'm just really worried about the jungle coming from Jingdong. They actually did nothing special for Olaf early 1. We've seen a lot of early Olaf level 1 invades, and then try to get him a 3 buff, and then try to snowball him that way. KT did it multiple times. But there's no tricks up the sleeves of Jingdong. Remember, this is the first time Clid is playing on that Olaf.
Chieftain, what's he looking for? He's actually pathing towards this mid lane right here. Maybe even looking for an invade. Mole this time is being pushed in, like you mentioned in Champion Selects, Clement. And Chieftain will see cleared over the wall. He knows exactly where the Olaf is. Looking for this gank into the mid lane. Nagao is level 2, just dings. But Chieftain, so much damage coming out, and the Paddle Star with the auto attack will be enough damage. First blood to BLG.
This is just smart play from Chieftain. You know, he scouts out where the Olaf is. They realize that they both started on the top side. He sees he's low health. There's no way that he's going to come into this fight. And he just plays off of that fact. He goes into the mid lane and gets Zoe a first blood. That's the that's the worst possible first blood to give over to someone on BLG.
Yeah, worst case scenario, definitely. First blood over to Mole, and Clid at the same time, he was on those Raptors. You could see him, had no mana, had no health, so he was never going to be able to counter gang. Hell, if Chieftain wanted to invade the jungle, he'd probably just kill the Olaf as well and just burn his flash.
Yeah, this is just great ban pick setup from BLG, you know? They take away the Trundle, they say, hey, you can go for the Olaf, there's nothing stopping you, and then they have something in their back pocket to play against it. The Rek'Sai, very healthy early champion, and does a lot of burst damage early as well.
Yeah, the law of equivalent exchange is definitely not ringing true in this game. I'm just watching Clid just lose everything now to Chieftain. He is looking for an invade, however, moving towards these Krugs in the top lane. But Chieftain is actually walking up there as well, so there is a very small window here for Clid.
Ooh, and up on the screen we can see if BLG take down a first tower, their win rate balloons to 87%. I believe that's only behind IG since they win all their games, so all of their sets are kind of slanted.
Yeah, for sure. BLG, damn, 20 out of 23 games a win after first tower. So Chieftain just tracking Clid, sees him in his jungle, probably going to follow him all the way back there. Scry's Bloom, not seeing the Skarner, not seeing the Rek'Sai. Chieftain just so synonymous with Skarner, I just want to say it. But Mole in from this mid lane, placed down a deep ward, and Chieftain's tracking. He's looking for this Olaf. Where is he? I know you're here somewhere.
They're chasing the Olaf off the map at this point. Like, Olaf has nothing to do but actually try to gank that top lane, but why would Amazing J ever come out underneath this tower?
He is low, has low mana as well, and this Olaf has flash. There is a potential for them to go for this tower dive, but I feel like this one's been read out by Chieftain. In fact, he's the one looking for the gank right now onto Zoo. Clid launched it out of the brush. I'm here, guess what? But can they make this play happen? Undertow comes through. Nice knock up onto Chieftain, but he just walks away and burrows towards the tower.
That's still pretty good for Clid right there. They do get a lot of damage onto Chieftain, and they will be able to take away some of his camps, or at least slow him down on the map.
Ooh, so much damage coming in from Mole, and he's looking for the kill right now, chasing down Yagel. Last auto attack, flashes for it, not going to be enough damage. And Mole doesn't manage to finish off his prey.
Not enough range on the Spell Thief bubbles to really take down Yagel right there, but you can see the effects. Usually Azir in this matchup, he gets to push the lane a lot longer than this. It usually takes Mole to go back, get his tier, and get his Lost Chapter to really start the push against the Azir. But with that first blood, he's taking control of the lane much earlier on, and that's going to put so much pressure onto Clid.
And again, we're just drawn. Our eyes are drawn to this mid and jungle duo. Mid lane pushes away the opposing mid laner. Chieftain then gets to invade with Mole over the wall. Flash out from Clid. The panel star, if that landed, he was probably dead.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. BLG could have gotten that kill there, but didn't happen because of the execution was a little bit off.
Yeah, in fact, Mole was actually looking for the recall more than anything else, so then he realized that Chieftain was looking for the invade. In the bottom lane, just a lot of trading going on, basically equal CS. Here comes the Ornn Horn. We'll get the nice knock up there onto Amazing J. No flash response from Zoom. He's going to be happy with this summoner burn.
Yep, Amazing J tried to feast on a minion and instantly gets punished for that. Zoom able to unload all of his damage on that. Overall, holistically on the map though, Jingdong have one big advantage, and that's that their top lane and their mid lane will push early on into the matchup. So far, they haven't been able to use it and try to sync that up with Olaf.
Yeah, to Olaf being the one invaded constantly now. He's actually sitting in this mid lane. I'll see what Clid is actually looking for, because buffs are now spawning, so there is a potential if the Azir pushes up in mid lane for Olaf to challenge the jungle. That being said, Zoom is looking for his back right here as well and doesn't have teleport, so it will be risky, but Clid is going in anyway.
Yep, he does need to find some advantage. Olaf is not a champion you want to sit on for the late game. And we can see the Azir already trying to move up with Clid.
Oh, Chieftain knows something's wrong. And actually just, he thinks that Olaf has already come and gone. So Clid is going to take it from right under his nose and just walk out.
All right. Good play from Clid, at least.
Yeah, hey, works out, and Chieftain will go back to base. He's got level 6 already, though. Clid is still working his way towards that level 6 himself, and will donate this blue buff over to Yagao. So we'll still need another camp after this one.
Yep, and Jingdong, they actually kind of stabilized the early game. Zoe hasn't been able to find any action outside of that first blood. The next big point for BLG, I would say, is trying to open up that bot lane. Even though Jin does have a good matchup into the Caitlyn, the lane push from BLG is just overwhelming at this point. They've been constantly chipping away at that tower. And you can see Chieftain already trying to set up for that. Trying to set up for that 87% win rate with the first tower.
He's actually sitting in the enemy jungle, places down a deep ward. Mole being aggressed on by Clid, who is walking to the bottom side of the jungle. Not sure if Chieftain can take this one fast enough. There is no Blast Cone, but is at the same time Rek'Sai. This is low, cleared. We'll see this one. Comes out with the axe, but it's smited away. Chieftain just sends him a nice little present before backing off.
Again, even gets the weapon, gets the level advantage, and also the warding advantage for BLG. Look at the bot side of the map. That's 3 control wards being placed down. They know wherever Olaf shows up.
And Chieftain, he's on to the first dragon once again here. He has been spotted out by this ward, however, from JD. And that means the bottom lane will react to this one. Lucan, in fact, it's the 30-man death squad moving up here to try and prevent this dragon from being taken. Though, Chieftain has actually just resumed. That ward has just died. He saw it go into decay, so he can actually still go for it, but it will back away as JD actually double down on trying to push him away from the objective.
Well, this is a lot of lost tempo on BLG's side. FLICKR can probably clear out all of this vision and really delay the timer for BLG to take down this bot lane tower. The Caitlyn Morgana strategy is a very strong siege strategy, but you do have to get the first piece moving first.
Yeah, sure. And for now, JD, I've managed to stymie that. Good stuff from them. And in bottom lane, Jin is also around equal farm. There's the tiniest of advantages owed to Jin Zhao. So overall, JD have actually stabilized, as you said earlier. There is a small advantage to BLG in terms of gold, but for now, they're actually able to scale up. And I want to see if, basically, does that first tower fall, to BLG? Like, we've seen the win rate. Yagao looks for the play in the mid lane. Clid was also there. He managed to connect it.
It actually burns an ignite that he found on the ground for Mole.
As you do.
Well, you better use it.
Yeah.
No reason not to.
Yeah, exactly. Nice bit of extra damage. And for now, we've got a pretty quiet early game. The junglers really haven't butted heads that much, though they might right now. It's going to find Chieftain. And did he just interrupt him over the wall? Chieftain is caught in place and he's just going to die. I think he whiffed the tunnel.
Yeah. He did.
Okay, well, happens, I guess. Like, Chieftain, she face plants on the Rek'Sai. And know it was possible, since, you're tunneling underneath the wall, but unfortunate. And that will be a kill over to JD. We'll see the pause come out.
Chieftain doesn't look very happy in his player cam there. He's like, what happened? I didn't comment on that because I didn't expect it to happen. I expected Chieftain to be able to walk away from that instant.
I mean, that's what you expect, right? Like, if Rek'Sai gets caught in the river, you see everyone, and she's like, okay, cool. I'll just tunnel away, go back into my own jungle. But this is awkward, and coming into a series like this, where a match point for BLG, you're JD Gaming, and you're just like, fantastic, we got a kill, and now you just have to sit and stew in this pause. Like this is like the worst tempo breaker you could possibly hope for.
I don't think BLG has a lot of experience actually dealing with this type of scenario right here, because their players, Chieftain and Mole, they haven't played a lot of games. Only 12 games on Mole so far this split, so I hope he can keep his composure with him and come out of the break as strong as he did before.
So we don't know what the pause is for just yet, but considering the play that just happened right there, I have to assume it's something to do with the Rek'Sai tunnel.
It's definitely Chieftain.
Yep, definitely have to assume it's Chieftain. Indeed, we've got confirmation. Chieftain was the one who initiated the pause. Now, is that an intended game interaction? I mean, just off the top of your head? Because I feel like it might be.
I think you can still go over the wall if you get damaged.
But if you put the tunnel through like a thick wall and you go for the wrong direction, I think you just face plant basically into the wall.
You go for the wrong direction.
Yeah. So that's what it looked like to me, but maybe he also aimed the tunnel in a different way. And I didn't see the tunnel on the opposite side of the wall.
Yeah, so that's what I think happened, was that the tunnel actually didn't angle it correctly and it didn't reach the other side. So it was just like a tunnel into the same side of the wall.
Sure, yeah. This is just speculation, of course. We don't know exactly what happened. Of course, this is being investigated on stage currently. But if you look towards, BLG, a lot of these veteran members like AJ, very used to situations like this, being in a pause, having to play on stage and just sit in this one. But you're right, Chieftain and Mole haven't been in a situation before. But a lot of my worries go to the team like JD. Like, they're up against the pressure right now. If you're BLG, you're like, well, we just need to win one of the next potential 3 games, and we're in. We're into quarters, right? So it's a lot less pressure for BLG here.
BLG, they have to win the next 3 games, basically. Today, the max games we're going to have is 4, and we've already been done with the first game that went to BLG quite handedly.
And we did indeed. Yeah, that first game. And, we were talking about the draft from JD, and I was like, will they freak out? Will they just go for scaling? Well, they kind of did a bit of both. Like, it just kind of became a very wonky draft coming out of JD. It wasn't very focused, as you were saying. And you know, we know that JD have the ability to go hard in the early game. That's actually one of the reasons why they've actually found wins against teams like RNG, like Rogue Warriors, some of the strongest teams in the league. So we didn't really see that out of this game at the very least.
We haven't seen it at all. I think Clid has just been exposed. Like, Clid's stats are very clear that he's the worst juggler in terms of experience gain at 15 minutes. A lot of times he sacrifices his own tempo, his own camps to get the entire team rolling. And when he can't find those early ganks, then Jingdong's game plan, they kind of fall apart. And this time around in the draft, I think Olaf was a bit of a desperation pick. It was a bit of a trap that they knew they were walking to. BLG set it up for them already. However, I do think that they do have a chance to win this game. BLG, their composition is much more about setting up a siege in front of your towers. And if you look at Jingdong, they do have a lot of engage answers, hard engage answers that they can deal and try to break sieges with. So I think if it does come down to a Jingdong win, this is where Jingdong's going to look for. He's going to look for that 25-minute siege, probably out there in front of their mid tower, where they can get an Ornn on the side, fly some of them back with Abyssal Voyage, and also open up from the backline with Jin. So that's going to be how all the moving pieces have to come together. The question is, do they have the coordination to do it?
I was going to say, it sounds very picturesque when you describe the whole scenario to me, Clement, but there's a lot of moving factors and moving parts that have to go right at the same time. We've seen a lot of rookie teams in this split try to execute even something as relatively simple as like a Galio and like a Jarvan. And like Jarvan will go in, the Galio's already used his ultimate before the Jarvan's gone in, and it's just a complete
Galio's 3 seconds
mismatch.
late.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we've seen things like that happen before, and this seems like 5 things that need to align. The stars need to align for JD to execute the comp.
That's why I wasn't very high on Jingdong's composition. In the draft phase, I wasn't sure what they were trying to go for. I know they go on to a 0 a lot of the times, like you said, just for that late game insurance. If things are going wrong, they look to Yagao and they say, hey, carry us to the finish line. But before this series even started, we were talking about the ban pick phase, and Mol has probably one of the best champion pools against Azir. He has the LeBlanc, he has the Vel'Koz, he also has the Zoe, like we see him pick up in this draft. So in terms of stylistic choices, like BLG, they just outdrafted Jingdong so hard. They forced him into so many traps, and now they're reaping the rewards. They're punishing him.
Okay, Clement, we have the play in question lined up, so we're going to take another look at it. This Rek'Sai tunnel over the wall, and we'll see what happened. Maybe we'll get some slow motion as well. We'll dissect it. We'll get the 360 view.
Here we go.
So the
tunnel does show up.
It's late, but then he doesn't follow through. That seems like a totally legit Rek'Sai tunnel, actually. Yeah. Now that I see it again.
I don't think damage actually takes you out of the channel. Yeah.
It did with like old Rek'Sai ultimate. If you interrupted Void Rush, you could with damage, I should say. New Void Rush obviously not, because it's just it's a dash and damage. But for the tunnel, I don't think it works
so.
like
We've
that.
seen so many escapes that, like, if Rek'Sai finds some trouble in the Tri-Brush, then he just tunnels away into the Dragon Pit. So
I think it's only displacement that can do that. So if you have like a Blitzcrank rocket grab or something like that, or basically any displacement that can move. But even then, I feel like the priority is high enough on Rek'Sai tunnel that you just go anyway.
Yeah, there also was that bug in the past where we've actually heard this a lot, is that sometimes even if though you created the tunnel, you won't go the entire way through. Like the animation doesn't line up particularly like precise. So what happens is that your travel distance is actually shorter than your tunnel distance, and then you just get kind of denied out of the
just pop up midway.
Yeah. We've seen that happen in a couple of it happened a couple times in the LMS actually, and I've heard players complain about that, but I'm not sure if this is the actual case right here.
I definitely haven't seen it for, well, that particular case for a long time, and wasn't aware of it on 8.7 that we're on. Wait, we're on 8.6.
Yeah, we're on 8.6
on this one. The live servers are on 8.7. So yeah, I'm not aware of it on 8.5. So this is definitely a new one. That's why we're currently waiting on what the referees are going to call it, because it was definitely a good pause coming in from JD. Sometimes we'll see players just look confused and not pause the game, but this was immediately after the play.
Yeah, it is a tempo breaker.
Yeah.
To say it will have a significant impact on the game with a kill going over to Jingdong Gaming. So I believe if it really comes down to it, if it is like a real bug, then BLG could have the opportunity to call for like a remake or something like that.
Unfortunately, we do not have an ETA for you. As a result, we will send it back to the analyst desk to just take a look at the action and how it's unfolded so far.
Thanks, guys. From what we know so far, it was Chieftain who applied for the pause, and currently League Ops are investigating and looking over the evidence before they make a decision. We can actually take a look at what happened once again. We know we just saw it on the casting desk just there, but it was Chieftain trying to jump over a wall with Rek'Sai. Did not make it through even before any damage was applied by Olaf. Damage should not cancel it. So you can see he tries to jump through. It's not happening. It just headbutts the wall.
Like super tragic interaction here. And it's almost like the Olaf axe just made him super confused and he didn't know how to get over the wall, almost like it blocked him. It was definitely not intended. Crowd control doesn't even stop Olaf Rek'Sai most of the time, and he should have followed that through. You could see where the tunnel went. So something's clearly gone wrong, and I'm glad that they paused and investigated it.
Yeah, I'm actually fully support BLG trying to challenge this call. I definitely think that looks really, really fishy. And as the casters were saying, it is a very significant kill because JD picked it up.
So we'll have to wait and see what the referees decide to do. Spaghetti code, you know, it happens from time to time. But let's go into the two compositions.
Always wear a helmet when you're traveling around the jungle. Any damage confuses you.
Yeah, but let's go into the team compositions from these two teams, because something has a completely different draft place. You saw the ban of Trundle coming from BLG. This time JD decided to take Olaf with that Trundle being taken away, and they're going to be playing Rek'Sai, champion that we see from time to time, but it's a very rare pick in the jungle.
Yeah, and the discussion that Rusty and I were having is like, he could go for the Skarner here. He's got the Morgana, so it's a pretty free pick. Obviously, put the Black Shield on someone, you have them zip in, no one can stop you. Just give me this, pull whoever you want. But the Rek'Sai is interesting. It tells me that Chieftain wanted to continue to play aggressive, especially in tandem with the Zoe pick onto Azir. It means that you're going to have wave priority. Are you okay over there?
I'm fine. Look, I'm just stumbling words, dropping my pen.
It means that you're going to have wave priority post level 5. And so with the Rek'Sai pick, you actually have that skirmish and that dueling potential against Olaf.
Yeah, for me, like, I just, once again, I feel like Jingdong got completely pinched through this draft phase. I don't see where the Olaf's meant to go besides top lane, but there's no real reason for him to be going top lane at the moment. When there's a Caitlyn and a Siege composition on the other side, trying to push you down constantly. And you saw a lot of very early aggression from the Jhin lane trying to push in. And that's because the Olaf is on that side of the map. Doesn't mean that he can gank it, but it means that he is just simply there. So it's very easy for BLG to recognize that that is the state of the map, and they get ganks off as a result.
I mean, there is a reality, because Olaf in the LPL has always been a pick about ganking the bottom lane, so maybe they're thinking that with the Caitlyn Morgana Siege that there may be an opportunity, but like you said, the push wasn't really aligned, so if that was the game plan, it hasn't been executed very well by JD, and we do kind of expect those types of holes because, again, they're an incredibly young team.
Yeah, definitely not. And on top of that, Yakar was taken down in the mid lane by a gank that came out from Rek'Sai with the assistance of Zoe, and it felt like he didn't quite know what to do when he was being ganked at. This is one of the players that we said is one of the best rookies from this split.
Yeah, I don't think he had his E or something of it. He just didn't use it at all. And for me, watching him get ganked, his reaction to it with both summoners available, he chooses not to flash towards the tower, instead just chooses to die. I feel like that was just a freak out moment, because he pathed in the wrong direction and had nowhere in his mind anyway to go, and that does happen sometimes.
And it's also not just that instance where Yagao has made some mechanical missteps. Zoe didn't have her flash for a very long time, and Olaf attempted a gank on mid lane. Yagao could have totally gone for the Azir sec there. I mean, anytime you see a mid laner without flash, it's almost a guaranteed kill, but he didn't do it until Zoe had the flash back up. So I feel like maybe there are a bit of nerves that are showing. Again, very young player, he kind of freaks out on the first gank. Like, this series is not indicative of how good Yagao has been playing this entire season.
And I do think, like, this actually, that particular point comes back to the original discussion about the draft. And, like, if they want to go bottom lane, if they want to gank bottom lane from the side of JD, use the Olaf and go down there, I think they need level 6 to make that work. And for me, because mid had already died before the level 6 point, Klidge just reassessed and he's like, all right, well, I have to go mid lane now. There's no flash at least, so there is an opportunity. They just mistime it. But that's still waiting for the Olaf to get 6, not utilizing the flash from the other person being down, instead waiting for something for yourself to make the play.
And most importantly, I think that also means that they need the teleport. Currently in the game, I believe that the teleports are just about to come up, so it feels like it's a bigger window for BLG if they want to make the late game bottom play, because they have the Cho'Gath versus the Ornn. You want that 4v4, you do not want that 5v5 if the Ornn Horn gets involved. So I think JD, whether this kill goes through or not, as soon as that TP is back up, they're going to go.
So from what I know, Bligos has investigated and they're going to try and attempt a chrono break, which is currently in process. At the time of the pause, the game state was at 10:20. It's going to try and go back to 9:57 before Rek'Sai attempts to tunnel over the wall. That chrono break is still in process. We'll have to see how that one goes. But assuming that we go back to this point, back to 9:57 in the match, what do we expect to happen exactly after this point? You were mentioning exact play, but what are the two team strategies moving throughout the rest of the game?
Teleport, play bottom.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is It's so hard to give you a strict answer because you have to think about this like you are the players. You have been sitting on stage for 15 minutes and you're barely able to talk for most of it. I think eventually when it pauses long enough, the teams are allowed to communicate. But like, imagine you're just the mid laner sitting there for 15 minutes in your own head. You're like, well, I could probably go for the kill once I get this item. No, wait, that's probably silly. I shouldn't. But what if they're
What am I going to
jungler-
have for dinner?
Yeah.
Did I leave the oven on?
The derailment continues to happen. Then you come back into lane and
I
you
need to
just
call
flash
that
on the
girl.
spot. Like, things like, what? What?
These are what happens when you sit there for 15 minutes, Rusty. I know you've been in that position. Don't you laugh.
15? All right, fair enough. I'm not going to, nope.
Yeah,
moving on.
Look, I'm as confused as you are at the moment, Rusty. But I'm meaning more towards, at the moment, it's match point for BLG. A win in this game puts them into the quarterfinals. They get one step closer to not only making it towards Rift Trials, potentially the finals as well. For JDG, they're already on the back foot for most of this match. They already lost first blood. The tempo advantage is going in BLG's favor. What do they have to do then to try and make it back to the match?
Looking at their composition, and as Clement politely said at the beginning of the game, it's just kind of like a smattering. It's just a variety bucket. Like you've got an Azir, a Jen, Tom Kinch, Olaf, and Ornn. So I guess there are, pivots there around a late game 5v5 between the Azir and the Ornn. But otherwise, everything should be hinging on the Olaf pick, and you really need to make it count. Again, we see so many teams flounder in the LPL with Olaf because they're not able to find that snowball. Because again, in the LPL, the meta is not to play around at the jungle. We very rarely give our junglers attention.
It's only a couple of teams that do that.
Yeah, it's about really ganking the lane repeatedly. For our Olaf players, it's usually the bottom lane, and he doesn't have that access. So I have a feeling that Olaf isn't going to get much, and he's kind of going to be a liability come late game, so much pressure on this Azir and this Ornn.
Yeah, of course, the Olaf just doesn't scale very well into the late game. Usually walks into the jaws of death and just has to Ragnarok his way forwards and see how far he can cover. I think the Skarner may have been better there ultimately when you look at the team composition, but for JD, it is just scale and just try and perhaps even play defense if you're the Olaf and keep your carries alive.
Does it feel like BLG almost baited out this Olaf pick? Because we saw the Trundle ban. They allowed JDG to pick it up, and then they've picked up the Rek'Sai in counter, so to speak. It's not exactly a counter pick in no way, shape, or form, but it seems like they've just given this Olaf pick over and given away the traditional counter of Trundle with it.
I don't necessarily know if it's a like a bear trap maneuver there. I think you also have to understand like global priority on Olaf versus LPL priority on Olaf. Again, we've had very hit and miss. I think the best Olaf jungler we have is Ning, and that's simply because Invictus Gaming's laners are so strong that it allows Olaf to really command tempo and get the snowball.
Literally anywhere on the map with IG.
Exactly, just run in and do whatever he wants. So in the LPLs, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth about where this pick really does line up with when he comes into our priority. So yeah, I mean, you can maybe gauge by, let's ban the Trundle so that way there's no dueling jungle. They'll pick the Olaf and we'll spring the trap. I think it was more like, we just don't care about this pick.
Well, ready to get back to the match. Let's send it back to our casters to take it away.
Thank you so much, guys. And we're jumping right back into the action. You can see we rewound just a couple seconds, and we will resume play as normal. And Chieftain, luckily, he's made it out. You can see he's living a happy life. He's grazing in the top lane jungle now, so he's all good.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have to use a remake. I almost forgot that our company invented time travel. So, back to pre-10 minutes.
Yeah, here we go. Trying to break. Good stuff. So back into the game now. Amazing J actually looking for a small invade here. Places down this control ward. And actually Klid will be walking up towards that area as well. So we'll see if he actually checks that brush. Because he may just give his position away in a couple seconds. Amazing J's just getting this opportunity. Yes, he's down in farm, but right now he has to push. So he's able to just get some more information for BLG.
And we are seeing a bit of fight coming out from Jingdong's bot lane right here. They do have the... they don't necessarily have the item advantage, but they don't want to continuously be pushed into that bot lane.
Yeah, they definitely do not. Top lane, again, just shoving Amazing J away, but Zoom is not really looking for the split push in the same way that he was in game 1 with the Camille into the gangplank. He's not going to be 1-4ing all day. Will want to join the team eventually. If you had to put a number on it, Clement, at what point in the game would you say that JD are ready to go? If they're saying to BLG, no rush, like how many minutes do they need?
They need a lot of minutes. I'm not even sure they have the better late game scaling at this point. I mean, sure, like, you do have the Azir, but Caitlyn's no joke on herself. And if it's in a purely siege scenario, I actually think that Cho'Gath can out-tank and out-damage Zoom as well on the Ornn. So, for me, Jingdong's big turning point of the game, strangely enough, is when BLG actually starts setting up the siege in mid lane.
Right.
That's the big point we want to watch to. The bot lane's going to fall. The question is just when.
Or Clit. Ah, not going to happen. Good smite there from Chieftain. Yeah, absolutely finding an opportunity maybe when BLG is stepping up, get the Ornhorn coming in, and then Zoom actually takes the mantle of being the pain train conductor. But that's a long ways off for now, and Mole, unfortunate the minions were in the way, but he'll take those too. Landing some nice bit of harass there onto Azir in the mid lane. So for now, BLG in a good place. You know, this is what we can expect out of new BLG. They'll at least go even in the early game. Here comes the Azir sec, knocks the Zoe towards Cleared. Gets the slowdown, and Mole doesn't have his flash on this one. Concrete Sands comes out, and that's the kill to Cleared.
It's nice. That's what the analyst desk was talking about, abusing that flash timing to get Mole down a peg. And this is also going to open up much of the jungle for the bot lane. So with one move right here, Jingdong can actually attempt to save their bottom lane.
They're pushing up to the mid lane tower right now, and Chieftain walks up, almost dies instantly, flashes away. I feel like that kill was almost gift wrapped.
Yeah, Chieftain, I don't think his head was where it needed to be coming out of such an extended break right there. Actually tries to defend against an Olaf and Azir.
I'm not sure where his head was at on that one, but he'll still go back towards the jungle and take away his Raptors. Would have been very dodgy if Clid happened to be in the area, because he was definitely in the top side of that top jungle, looking towards that red buff. So scary, but in the end, Chieftain's play will work out. Nice kill to JD. And we talked about, you know, scaling up and going even, and JD have done exactly that with that play.
Yep, Jingdong are finding themselves back into the game right here, but Olaf does need to put more pressure down onto this bottom lane. BLG so far, they've had a chokehold in terms of vision onto that bot side.
And again, Amazing J, he's walking into the jungle, he gets the push off. He even had to burn the flash early in that 1 versus 1, but it doesn't really matter, you know. Amazing J, he's well versed into the attack on top lane. Like he knows people are just going to turn up to his lane and make him have a bad day, and even in the 1v1, but he absorbs this pressure, you know. That's Amazing J. It's always a solid performance.
And that's the thing about Amazing J. He might not look very good in CSD terms, but his raw CS numbers have usually been terrific. Like, he just doesn't play for punishes in terms of the laning phase.
Yagao gets exhausted. There's the Azir sack once more. Mole walking away, does have the flash, has to burn that one, but he's moving towards Chieftain. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage in from the bottom lane, and Mole doesn't really have anywhere to go right now and has to walk back into the open arms of Azir. That'll be a kill to Yagao.
Great play here. The question is, can BLG sack the bot lane tower with this roam coming out from Jingdong? If not, Jingdong get away scot-free.
Loken seems like it's fine. He's cleared out the minion wave. We had Tam Kench moving towards the bottom lane, and Clid was behind him if something went south. Now JD are pushing towards this mid lane tower, and they were about to knock down the first tower of the game, and it's the outer mid lane tower. So that stat that we saw earlier from BLG, you know, if you get that first tower, like what was it, 83% win rate?
87% win rate.
87 even better.
That's out the window.
It's out the window. It's gone. JD get the first tower, and they're even pushing onto the second now.
There is no defense coming from BLG. Like, nobody is rotating. They're just trying to trade the towers in the bot side.
Well, I cannot believe an Azir and an Olaf just pushed 2 towers in the mid lane. Absolutely unbelievable. And for the first time in this series, JD take the gold lead.
Yeah, and when in doubt, go to Yagao's Azir. This is the champion that he's most known for. 44% of the time, enemy teams will ban away Azir from Yagao.
You always got to take this one away. You know, we look towards the Zoe, but his Azir is just as fearsome. And we can see what happened in the mid lane. Mole was looking for the engage, of course, and Yagao with a sidestep.
That was really good from Lumao as well, predicting where Zoe would show up to and cutting off the retreat path right now. Zoe doesn't have her flash, just use it, can't go right, has to go left.
Yep, goes down. Nice rotation from the bottom lane as well to support that play. And where are we? So 2-1 in terms of kills, 2 towers over to JD. And I've got to say, Clement, they've definitely controlled this early game, even though they kind of had a platypus of a composition. It's worked out, and now Chieftain has to jump away towards the top side of the map. He's been pushed out of his own jungle.
Ooh, and the Rek'Sai Gambit not really paying off. Unable to snowball off that early kill to the mid game right now. So BLG, they might not even get a chance to set up that sieging scenario that we were talking about with Caitlyn Morgana.
I'm not sure if it's going to happen. And Clid moves onto the Rift Herald right now as well. They have complete vision control over the top jungle, so I don't think this is going to be contested actually by BLG. You can see Chieftain is already on his way back to base, so this is going to be a free take over to JD. On the flip side though, BLG are able to take a tower in the bottom lane, but that's just catch-up right now because this extra tempo will go over to JD.
Jingdong, they're fine with sacking that bot lane tower. They're up with an item advantage in that bot lane, so they basically can force BLG to send someone to the bot lane to defend, and then they have their free pick to roam. Like, they can set up a lot of traps right here. They can walk into BLG's jungle and try to put even more pressure on Chieftain.
Road caught out in the bottom river. He's got the team rotating towards him, but Loken coming in with the final shot is big damage, following up with the dancing grenade as well. Opening up fire onto Road. Misses the first, misses the second, misses the third, and finds the fourth! Goodbye, Road. And that's another kill over to JD.
And Morgana just being caught in a weird position right there. Of course, Jingdong Gaming are going to push that wave out. Of course, they're going to be in the river. Why was Road even trying to stay there? Like, that's just a question mark for me. And you could see on the map, BLG were peeing the question marks as well.
This is going disastrously wrong now for BLG, and JD are taking complete control over this game, moving towards the bottom lane tower. Clid's here as well to follow up, and in the space of the last, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, JD have taken so much in this game.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like this is a bit of tilt coming out from BLG. That first unnecessary kill going over to Chieftain, causing this chain of events where their bot lane really isn't communicating as well. This is the old Road. This is why Road was never considered a top support, because he face-checked too much.
Pretty much, and if you look towards the members who are starting to die in the last couple of minutes, it has been Chieftain and Mole, you know, the rookies to the roster. We're talking about mentality, you know, for Amazing J, a player like him, easy to reset, but for the rest of the team, not so much.
Why would you be here? You just saw the enemy bot lane push out the bot wave. What is achieved by Road going towards the bot? That's just a pure mistake right there on Road's form, and a great final shot from Loken.
Yeah, that was literally shooting in the dark there, and still finds Morgana in the end. He's not in the other 3 positions, so he's probably got to be here. Plays battleships and gets the kill. 4-1 now in terms of kills. Next round's going to be Clouds, and while the first one went over to BLG, I feel like JD will absolutely control these next couple of objectives. And then you also look at the Herald. They haven't used that one either, so there's so many plays that JD can make now.
Yep, and the one that BLG are going to try to counter with is try to take down Zoom in the top lane. Nobody's been spotted.
Towards Amazing J in this top lane. Knock up as well. In comes Mole, and so much damage coming in from Mole. Chieftain will end up getting the kill.
It's a bit of an unfortunate flash, unable to dodge out on the damage. Road again?
Man, this is looking like it's going to be the end of the road. And indeed it is. Clid finds him again in the top jungle. Just keeps walking into death.
Yeah, and because of that kill right there, BLG, they're not able to put down any pressure onto the top lane tower. It's just a pure 300 gold gain from them killing Zoom.
Well, Clid is invading right now. He's being blocked off. This is a really annoying trouble bubble, but Mao over the wall, gobbles him up, flashes to safety. Buy one, get one free on that flash, and Jin Zhao is chasing after, though. Here comes the Void Rush, but does have the shield in time. Mao finally goes down to the hands of Jin Zhao. Flash, knock up onto Clid, and a follow-up as well from the ace on the hole, but here comes Jin in from the bottom side. Lands the first, lands the second. Mole tries to put him to sleep, but the chase continues now from JD, pushing BLG away.
There was no second proc of the Ornhorn right there, not getting the knock up onto Jin Zhao. I'm not sure what really happened. We didn't see the fight on that end, but it was good work on Mole to stop the curtain call from Jin right there and try to get his members out of the situation.
Yeah, pops over the wall, puts him to sleep, and that diffuses the situation for BLG right there, but still, kills and pressure going over to JD. They're trying to open up right now for a potential Herald play somewhere. It's about to expire, so Clid may just put it in like a side lane, maybe put it in bot lane and just have it push.
Actually, Jingdong, without their teleport, they don't really have a lot of ways to stop the sieging coming out from BLG, and this is why you see BLG being much more brazen in the mid lane. They're willing to push up, and they're going to use that push to transition it straight into Cloud Drake.
There we go. We'll get the Fountain Herald coming in, and it will. Where's it gonna go? Because it's a bit of RNG right here, and it will walk top lane. So there we go. It will take a while to move up there. It's basically a big minion for BLG to handle in the next couple of minutes. Pushing up this mid lane duo again, Loken and Mao versus their opposition into the top lane. Zoom and Yagao gonna take down this tower with very little trouble. There's a Soul Shackles, follows up with the binding, but Mao cleanses out of that one. Loken trying to help his support out here. Mole doesn't land the bubble. So Mao is okay for the disengage, but JD maybe looking for their own engage now because they have Zoom flanking. That's going to be so much damage onto Loken. The damage out from the sniper there from Mole. On the top side of the fight, Amazing J is blocking for his team. Here comes the ramp, going to be stampeding over BLG right here. Lands the knock-up onto the back line. Amazing J may have just saved the day. He's backing away with his team, keeping all the squishies at bay, and everyone managed to get out alive. But on the opposite side, you have the Herald taking the tower.
All of that was just trying to keep BLG away from the top side of the map. They used that big minion wave and also the Herald to take another tower.
It's going to be very close to dropping. Let's see if Amazing J can make it there in time, but still, so much pressure over to JD, and that's literally a tap away from going down. So effectively, we're basically like 5-1 in towers right now for JD. They have snowballed so hard.
We have seen the main problem from BLG's composition is that they don't have the initiations that they usually play with. Not a lot of pain train from the top lane. Cho'Gath is not an initiator. He's a tank, but not an initiator. No Rakan from Road either. So you're seeing a really sluggish BLG. They're trying to set up for the siege, but they're not confident enough in their own abilities, and they're not used to playing this type of composition.
And once again, we're kind of back in old BLG territory where we were playing from behind, we're looking for the comeback story, we're looking towards team fights really to try and outplay JD. But this is a gold advantage that they're accruing right now. It's going over to the right places. You know, Olaf is still getting tanky in the jungle. Azir has 2 kills in the mid lane. Bot lane even picks up kill into Loken as well. So JD, they have the gold allocated in the right places.
Yeah, and this is a very dangerous composition to have ahead, because you have so much initiation just from the Ornn and just from the Abyssal Voyage here. So BLG, they're going to have a very hard time holding on to their own red side jungle. Those funnels, those chokes, they're great places for Ornn.
JD doubling down on the Baron right here. Chieftain's going to spot it out, though. Can he find the steal? Rhodes is walking up as well. There's a control ward. And JD, they have a bad track record when it comes to Barons, and they choose to back away. I like this play a lot more.
Oh, yeah. They're going for the Abyssal Voyage catch.
Looking for the play instead. Going to stomp down an ultimate onto Road, but he does manage to get out alive with this black shield. Cliff with the slowdown and also the undertow will be finishing off the support.
And that's 3 deaths in the previous 5 minutes coming out from Road. Road really showing a lot of a regression after the break. Something tilted in him, and we're seeing kind of the old Road come back when BLG most need him.
All roads apparently lead to death in this one. Unfortunate for the support of BLG. Jinjiao stepping up to Mal right here. He's actually playing bodyguard. Cliff is low as well. Chieftain over the wall. He's looking for the opportunity to go in. Amazing J manages to get the kill to Azir. Amazing play by Amazing J. And a follow-up onto Zoom as well. Goodbye. And that's going to be 4 kills to BLG and the Baron.
Jingdong are going to lose Baron. This is what we always see from them. The lowest Baron control out of any playoff team. This is the 8th Baron that they have stolen away from them this split so far.
And they know it themselves, you know, we see it time and time again. JD cannot control the Baron, and from ahead, give BLG the ball. They let them back into the game. That's a full ace, 5-0 for BLG, and a tempo swing and a gold swing.
I'm just amazed that Amazing J is able to pull off that miracle with a Cho'Gath. He doesn't have any initiation abilities, is able to teleport from the back, walk in, kill Clid, and then chomp down another carry. So that was a 1 fight just from Amazing J.
25 minutes into this game, and probably 2 minutes ago you would say, wow, this is a great situation for JD to be in, but it all turned around off of this.
Oh, Mold able to find Clid among the members right there. Amazing J walking in and killing Yagao and Olaf right off the bat. There's no chance for Jingdong Gaming. They have to back away, and we have to criticize them for this. They're just so impatient in the middle and late phases of the game. They're not willing to go into that red side jungle and really set up catches. They always go Baron, Baron, rush, 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 and it never works out.
Thank you to Observer as well, because we just saw that Road picked up the Baron buff. He just respawned in time, so 5 Baron buffs over to BLG. Here comes the invade into the jungle. JD, they just wanted their red buff right here, but the Soul Shackles will be disconnected. Here comes the Ornn Horn. The Ram comes through, and there's the combo out from JD. They're punching down onto Amazing J right now. Final crit shot hits Jin Jiao. There's nothing to write home about. Now the Cho'Gath is caught in place. He's trying to escape from this one. Pops the Righteous Glory, but is running away from the fight. And JD, he managed to get out with no casualties.
Yep, but still they lose more health on the trade right there. Jin in the late game is not a very good champion against double tank lineups right here. You could see it took a long time for Matt to actually put any damage down onto Amazing J. And with this Baron buff, BLG are finally going to able to start utilizing their composition and set up that siege.
And this has been such a bizarre game, Clement. You know, we were just like, how is this composition from JD ever going to get ahead? Then they get ahead, and we're like, fantastic. Then they go towards the Baron and throw and give it over to BLG. And we're like, okay, well, I guess this just happened.
That's Jingdong for you. If you want to know the Dignitas team of the LPL, it's definitely Jingdong. They've never been very good with the major objectives.
You know, that's right there that you've got to look towards if you're JD. You're looking at that VOD afterwards. Where did it go wrong? And BLG, as you said, able to push up now with this composition, looking for the 1-4. Sends a cannon minion all the way back. Good
it's a really good way to deal with it.
Yep.
Swallows the Banner minion in and then spits him out behind the tower so everyone can deal with it.
Yep, wasn't going to be promoted on that one. Away from the Baron buff, and BLG, they take down the bottom lane in a tower. Yagao by himself gets crit headshot. And that's a kill over to Jin Zhao.
And that's a Caitlyn Morgana combo coming out from the late game. Multiple headshots landed onto Yagao. And a 5v4 scenario. They're going to take 2 inhibitors from this.
Oh man, Yagao just getting caught out in the mid lane. Loken loses over 50% of his HP from Mole. You know, we were sounding the alarm bells after that first blood to Mole, but now we're really seeing the effects of it. In the bottom lane, Zoom is by himself. This is the collapse coming out from BLG, but they do manage to save Private Zoom.
That was a smart play from Zoom. He's just trying to clear out the minion wave before BLG can get their Baron buffs onto it. Does look like Baron buff has ended for them, however.
This is all inner turrets down, looking towards this tower now, defending the inhibitor. BLG is stepping up, and Clid tosses an axe, but that's essentially all he can do. Chieftain was zoning away the team as well. JD went in again to draw the line, because if they draw it right here, it's on open ground. A lot of damage onto Amazing J though, and Clid is moving forward. He gets blasted by a paddle star that turns into a supernova. Zoom, he's up against the team right here, but no one wants to back him up.
Yeah, they can't chase in anymore. BLG, they still have a lot of surviving members, and they're able to walk away from that situation. However, Jingdong, they do defend their inhibitor, top lane inhibitor tower, and that's going to be their main takeaway. Does he just? Oh, he just
walked into the trap.
Yeah, that's we see this being used in professional play quite often. Is you want to hide the traps underneath the tower, so it's less visible. And you know, when people step onto that, you do get that 13,000 range, 1,300 range onto the enemy then.
Unfortunately, we live in an isometric world here in League of Legends, and sometimes you just can't see traps, you can't see walls behind Baron sometimes, and it's unfortunate, but right there that led to a kill and actually a lot lost there for JD. They did manage to cling onto their top lane inhibitor, however, but they have definitely lost a lot in their base.
Yep, and BLG should be looking for the final touches onto this game. That bot lane inhibitor tower is probably where they're going to go next. They're already convening there.
Yeah, push this one in. Mid lane over time will push in with the super minions. Top lane is actually pushing away from JD right now, so it will crash into the top lane tower, but BLG doesn't seem like they're too concerned. They are actually sending Amazing J there to meet it, so leaving no holes in the ship. Everything is going to be patched up. Make sure that they come in for a clean victory here now for BLG.
Amazing J does have to teleport. He can rejoin his team in a moment's notice, and I do believe that they are going to be looking for the death blow here from BLG.
Pushing up slowly, playing it safe, denying vision. Isn't taps Zoom. We're putting Olaf to sleep. Right now it's pretty difficult for BLG to actually step up to the tower though. There's a lot of wave clear from JD, and they no longer have the Baron. It's up in 1 minute from now, so BLG probably just going to lock JD in their base and look towards these monster objectives.
BLG has done a very good job of sweeping out all the vision behind them. There is no chance for Zoom to really get a backline teleport into their composition, so they have to go from the front.
Forge God runs over Mo, and he's like, well, cool, I've got a black shield, so that does absolutely nothing. Clid does not get caught out by the bubble there, but will be followed up from more sparkles, and BLG will resume their siege.
Major initiation opportunity gone from Jingdong Gaming. BLG can now group all of their members together and try to push something down. I think they should be going for the bot lane at this point, but still splitting things up.
You'd have to assume so. Chieftain is inside the base. He's playing Solid Snake, and he's just sitting right behind enemy lines. If anyone walks up, if it's squishy, then they're going to get knocked up, and they're going to get deaded from Mole. In the bottom lane, damage onto Loken, gobbled up by his support, but he's also put to sleep as well. And BLG have managed to crack the base, even without Baron right here. Moving on towards the inhibitor, Chieftain taking some fire, as is Road. Has to back away from the Emperor of the Sands, but BLG, all inhibitor towers down now.
Still a lot of damage coming out from Yagao. Mole is looking for that miracle snipe to take Yagao out of the picture.
Pushing away Chieftain and Amazing J on the top side of the base, but JD firmly locked down now, and Baron is alive. We're going to see a play come out of JD. You have to feel it's going to be around this Baron.
Yep, and BLG, if they execute this correctly, there should be no way Jingdong can take away this Baron. They have a huge temple advantage, and they also have the feast for the Baron itself.
This is last chance saloon for the team of Jingdong Gaming. And Zoom was locked in place. He couldn't even knock the ramp back towards BLG, and it's like, okay, cool. We'll go back to base. Our pockets lined with gold, and we have the Baron buff. JD, it seems like it's going to be lights out.
Oh yeah, there's only one inhibitor down for Jingdong Gaming, but BLG, with the way they've been playing so far, they're definitely going to look for something slow and steady, try to take out both of those inhibitors, and really just corner Jingdong. BLG, they've always been a very patient team in the mid and late game.
And indeed, BLG with this huge gold advantage, moving towards that 10,000 gold horizon. And we look towards, 32 minutes into this game, they are, as you said, looking towards that death blow now, pushing in all 3 lanes at the same time, sending the bottom lane to top lane, the duo. And Chieftain rotating between these lanes as well. And it seems like Amazing J is just going to play goalkeeper. He's going to be the one in front. He's going to play Vanguard.
Road hasn't used his banner of command, interestingly enough. We did see it being used in one of the side waves on previous sieges, but they're going in without one.
He's in the hole, just, again, taps Zoom on the shoulder. Flash knock up onto Cleared. Here comes the Ornhorn once again to try and look for this disengage, clear out the minion wave. Opening up fire though, Jin Zhao is about to get knocked up by Chiefs and has to cancel that one out. Amazing J solo, but still flashes forward. This is risky, but he's still not dead. He has the shields on top of him, and that allows the team to take down the inhibitor.
And you can see the problem here. Loken isn't able to finish his current call. Mo goes straight into the backline with a black shield and is able to scare away the AD carry. BLG are going to go for the 3 inhibitor finish.
Yeah, moving towards the spot. Inhib now, pushing away JD, having to deal with these minions as they have been Baron buffed up out from BLG. There are no cannon minions remaining, however, so they don't have any battering rams, but Zoom is about to be put to sleep. He's drowsy. Jin Zhao doesn't want to walk up, though. Doesn't want to go towards kill range. Don't give JD a single inch as they push towards the Nexus.
Most likely the final push here coming in. Can Yagao do enough damage to BLG to dissuade them from continuing?
That's the question on our minds. Amazing J doesn't land the knockup, but Klid is low. Road, again, sitting in front of this one, takes some damage out from the Sand Soldiers. And over time, this war of attrition is going to be won out by these minions. JD, when are they going to pull the trigger?
Jingdong, they're clinging on to dear life. This game, if they lose, will take them out of playoffs.
They need to run from the trenches right now. They need to run into no man's land and make something happen. JD, here's the ultimate. Here's the call of the Forge God. Lands the double knockup, and Olaf is in, and Olaf is out. He's down. Goodbye to the Orn as well, and JD are routed. They are pushed towards the fountain. Just get a nice sweep on towards Mo and trade 1 for 1, but BLG turn towards the structures, turn towards the Nexus, and Jin, he's counting to 4, but I don't think he can do anything about this one. And BLG, Amazing J said, we can make miracles happen, and I am a believer. They move on to the quarterfinals.
And BLG do it again. The Dark Horses coming out of the Western Conference, able to slay 4th place Jingdong coming out from the Eastern Conference. A clean 3-0.
We've had 2 3-0s to start off our round 1 here in the LPL playoffs. And this is no different. BLG cementing their dominance over JD Gaming. Unfortunately, this will be the end of the road here for Jingdong. But I will say, pretty successful first split, making it into playoffs in the first place, managing to take games off some of the strongest teams in the league. And for a first split with a new roster, I'd say good job.
BLG, previously known as IMA, they've had a very slow year in 2017, but they're picking it up again with Mole and with Chieftain leading the helm. This was a victory on so many different levels. I feel like Chieftain throughout the series has been the better jungler. I don't care what FrostCurrent says. He's the MVP for me in Game 1 and Game 2 as well. So, just so much strength and so much hope for these new youngsters coming on.
You hear that, Frost? You've just been called out by Clement on desk, but here we go. BLG with a well-deserved bout, taking the 2 wins and 3 points today over JD, and progressing to the quarterfinals, where they will be faced with Rogue Warriors, a slumping Rogue Warriors, I may add. We'll see if Rogue Warriors have bounced back, but congratulations, that was definitely a smooth showing. Definitely in Game 1. Second game was maybe a bit dodgy, but I'll give them that because there was a pause coming in. We could see that the players' mentality didn't quite reset correctly, but they still managed to find the fight around Baron and turn the game.
And Jingdong Gaming, you know, they're a young team as well. They didn't make the playoffs last time with Doinbi. They switched up a new mid laner in Yagao, and they were able to do it this time around. They had a lot of turbulence on their teams. I think their late game still is massively lacking in terms of smart objective taking, but they did make it here. So for Jingdong, I don't think they're too sad about this event. You can see the players, they're still talking around. They're still trying to chat, try to figure their ways out of these problems they have, but it has been a good split and a good new branding for Jingdong.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate that it was kind of poetic in the end. It's like the one demon that's been plaguing them all split, Baron buff, comes back and bites them in the butt at the wrong time in playoffs. But c'est la vie. There's still another split to go, and we are franchised, so good first split coming out from JD. But BLG, with that massive turnaround win, you can see in the goal graph, that went from what, 4,000 gold advantage to JD to 11,000 gold to BLG.
That looks like about 7K in terms of a gold swing straight to BLG. So, you know, the story of the game really is coming down to that play. They found some momentum out of the break. BLG looked like they were disoriented. Road didn't know where he was going. Like, he didn't know which road he was on, for instance. And they throw it all away. Like, this is the problem with Jingdong. They don't have enough pages in their playbook. They just want to play early game, and when it comes to late game, they don't really have an answer. I was a bit disappointed by the draft so far from Jingdong Gaming. It looked very disoriented. Yeah. It looked like they were just looking for hero plays. You know, can you stand up if I give you your best champion? That's I mean what the coach was asking. And he was asking 3 people at once.
Hey, give me a Lowy, man. I'll make things happen.
Yeah,
but,
maybe on
they
the
did manage, exactly. But as they managed to get ahead, they did in the end. But unfortunately, it was not the win to JD. For now, though, we're going to send it back to the analyst desk to take a look at the series and close out the day.
Thanks, guys. And unfortunately, Jingdong's greatest opponent, the Baron buff, triumphs again in this match for BLG. They pick up the 3-0 victory and move on to the next stage of playoffs. But let's start this one from Champions League, because even Clement was saying that the draft coming out from JDG just wasn't quite there.
Now, I'm actually going to start with BLG, and I want to start this because we've already spoken about the draft a decent amount. There's one thing we didn't hit about BLG's drafting that we need to actually say, and that is when it gets ahead, nothing stops that steam train from rolling forwards. When a Zoe gets a pick, when a Morgana hits a binding, we saw the Morgana-Caitlyn combo working as well throughout the entirety of that game. If that ever gets going, you cannot stop that from happening. And unfortunately, it was a throw that enabled it to get ahead, but when you see it ahead, my God, that is scary.
It's still a great call on the throw, however. Yes, JD shouldn't have gone for that Baron, but BLG knew as soon as JD turned back to the Baron that it was go time.
And we'll get to that in a little bit, but first let's take a look at what happened in mid lane, because before we came back to the desk during the pause and the Chrono break, we were talking about how Yagao just looked out of sorts. He was running down mid lane, not flashing away from ganks. He bounced back after the pause and picked up 2 back-to-back kills in the mid lane.
And that was what Clement was talking about, just one of those hero plays. The way that Yagao plays this, to hold the cleanse, you've been baited out of position, and finds the swoop-de-doop on Zoe and just pops her like a balloon, I would be so tilted.
Yeah, you see the exact moment the Mole realized that it was a mistake. You hear the record scratch. He's like, I have nowhere to go. Lumao comes in as well to secure it. And it happens a second time where, once again, he just finds the engagement. And it's a bit of momentum for Jingdong. He is a star in the making, Yagao, and you're starting to see this from someone who gets pressured out early to still be able to bounce back, work with Clid so well is impressive.
And again, why this hero play was important is because it led to 2 towers going down in the mid lane, which meant that JD Gaming's control over the Baron should have been immaculate, because they have so much more control over the mid lane to pivot into that red side jungle. But unfortunately, not even that was enough for some terrible Baron decision making.
Exactly, that's what we're going to go into next, because there's something about Jingdong and not being able to secure Barons. Yes, they cleaned it up moving towards the playoffs, but their first specified in playoffs, they're not able to secure their Baron.
Look, the Baron was a giant mess. They should never have finished the Baron in the first place, but let's take a second to actually appreciate how good Mole is at hitting his Sleepy Trouble Bubbles
right
on the
his
people
ear.
that should not get hit by it at all. Somehow just bends the bullet. Amazing Jay, of course. And I mean, we could talk about JD and Baron all we want. It still takes a very good team to catch a poor throw. So they did very well to be able to do that and get a full ace and get 5 Baron buffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as soon as they saw that the Ornn ultimate was down, they said, you just picked our support. And you can see immediately AJ was like, we're fighting this one, boys. He'd already started the ultimate. As soon as the Ornn ultimate went through, he had already started his back timer, knew that he was going to get in position to teleport, bought his item, and then just immediately ran in.
Well, FLICKR, you thought that Mole was robbed in game 1, and Clement thinks that Chieftain deserves MVP for both Game 1 and Game 2. This time he's wrong. Mole picks up MVP for Game number 2, and rightfully so. His Zoe play for this entire series has been fantastic.
Absolutely! Clement, where are your eyes, man? This dude was bending these sleepy trouble bubbles around minions, using his ultimate to constantly reposition himself, and just like Xiao, who yesterday showcased why you cannot blind pick Azir in the LPL.
Yeah, and we just spoke towards Yagao having some class, being able to bounce back from perhaps a poor start into the game. Well, the exact same thing happens here with Mole, and this is 2 days in a row, 2 times in a row now, where the losing side decides to pick Azir into a Zoe, and the Zoe goes berserk. And I think there is a pretty valuable lesson that we can learn from that. Is blind picking Azir in the LPL, and only the LPL, is pretty silly.
Well, these good signs for BLG, because like we said, they've moved now into the quarterfinals. They've got their next match before trying to make, and that next match will actually qualify them for Rift Rivals. They pick up a victory there.
Yeah, so the most important thing to take away from this match from BLG is Mole and Chieftain are gods, and there's still a lot of mistakes from BLG. You still saw that Road was doing classic Road things, that when he's not given an engaged support like an Alistar, like a Braum, like a Rakan, he wanders and he will just give up free kills, and that can impact Bilibili Gaming's ability to place vision and play around the beautiful vision game that we saw in game number 1, but that said, if you take BLG to late game, you will lose. I do not think that you beat this Cinderella story post 35 minutes.
Well, let's see who they're going to go up against, because BLG, yes, now they look good with the addition of Chieftain Mole in the early game, but they're still a late game team, and they're up against the late game gods of Rogue Warriors.
They certainly are. They're against the AD carry specific god as well as SMLZ, and I think that's where the difference is going to lie with that set. It's a super exciting one to watch if BLG get ahead early, and the recipe to beating them seems to be to keep mid lane or jungle down. We don't often see that from Rogue Warriors, but those two do work together very well, so heavy hitting early game.
And the champion that I'm particularly looking at for this series is Ornn and his ability to set up dives in the lane phase bottom side. There has been a very clear blueprint. Invictus Gaming and Suning Gaming showed the entire league that if you want to put a thorn in RW side, you dive them, and you dive them very early.
But that's the second quarterfinal match to be played, which will be on the 15th on Sunday at 5 o'clock Shanghai time. The first match to be played is going to be tomorrow. That's going to be Snake taking on RNG again at 5 o'clock Shanghai time.
Yeah, we're running the gauntlet here. No real breaks. These teams get 1 day off RNG, and Snake got a chance to watch the 2 games, not even a 3-game series of RNG, to try and perhaps download them. And I'm looking at this matchup. It's actually on your screens right now. The jungle's the place to be.
Yeah, and the thing is will Karsa actually be the starting jungler? We saw MLXG start in their round 1 playoff series against Team WE, and frankly, RNG didn't even break a sweat. Yeah. WE rolled over and died. Snake should give them a much tougher competition.
I know that graphic said it's round of 8. No, it's not. It's going to be straight into the quarterfinals. The first round is done. Team WE, as well as JDG, have been eliminated. And FLICKR, you've been saying that this could be BLG taking it all the way to the finals. Again, we've talked about it on the desk a couple times. You don't think EDG have what it takes to take them, and it's particularly a Rogue Warriors. They had such a good split as well.
I don't have any tape of Rogue Warriors being able to showcase that they can right their ship. What we have of Rogue Warriors is they went on a massive win streak, and then the patch changed, and they went on a massive lose streak. And they haven't recovered from it. They are currently in quarterfinals on a loss streak. BLG, massive win streak. They stumble, they adapt to the patch, they change, they ramp hard, and this has been their hardest ramp. So my confidence for RW, I don't know if they can look good tomorrow.
I will say that my only concern with this is that EDG still exists. The raid boss at the end still exists. So this is a lot of confidence in BLG, but for FLICKR to say that when EDG is on the same side of the bracket means a lot.
But looking towards the first game that we have tomorrow, Snake taking on RNG. This is going to be the first time we see Snake leave their home arena in Chongqing, leave the Snake Pit, and actually make their way to Shanghai, where RNG have recently been performing pretty well.
And not have the momentum of the Chongqing fans behind them. You listen to that arena, they are very passionate about their League of Legends team. Snake has brought them a lot of glory, and it's not just Snake leaving their home arena, it's also the fact that Snake are in playoffs, and every Snake fan is freezing up because it is do or die, your moment of truth. Are you actually going to make an international competition?
Well, we get to find out tomorrow, because a win tomorrow over RNG would put Snake towards Rift Rivals and 1 step closer to an LPL final. But that's our broadcast for today on behalf of our analysts, as well as our casters and entire production team. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.